Hi, ladies and gentlemen, what's going on? You know who this is, you know what this is. This is your man Frank, live and direct with another edition of View from the Man Cave. So, welcome. Welcome to View from the Man Cave, a place for honest, intellectual, and informative dialogue and discourse about all things related to masculinity and manhood, responsibility and respect, provision and protection. So, let's talk about it. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. All right, y'all, what's going on, man? I hope everybody's having a good Tuesday. I know I am. It's Taco Tuesday over here. You know what I mean? I just knocked back a few steak tacos, so I'm good. I'm sitting real good right now. See my wife in here, of course. Chantel in the building. Sunshine Girl out there in Florida. What's going on, man? I can't really see y'all like I want to. I'm still locked up. I'm still in Facebook jail. You know what I mean? Still doing my bid, but my time has already lapsed. You know what I mean? I got a 3-day bid and it's been like 17 days. So, it is what it is, but, they can't hold me down. I know they got my man Gabe too, Ultimate Black Man Radio. He's doing the bid. So, they got both of us locked up, but, it's free us until y'all see us. You know what I mean? Straight like that. But I'm doing good, man. I'm blessed as always. I hope you guys had a great weekend. A lot of things, a few current events I want to talk about, and then we're going to get right into the topic tonight. So again, welcome. I hope everybody's good out there. I know there's a huge uptick out here in the United States with COVID, so y'all be safe out there. Y'all wash your hands. You know what I mean? Y'all stay 6 feet away from people. Stop playing. You know what I mean? This thing is not over with yet. So there's a little spike out right now, and a lot of places, including here in the DMV in Maryland and Southern Maryland, preferably in Prince George's County here where I reside. We're going backwards a little bit. So they're making us go back in the house a little bit. It's not a full restriction where we can't go outside, but things are changing. You know what I mean, on the negative side of the game. So and that's because these numbers are rising. People are dying. You know what I mean, at rates that we haven't seen since COVID first hit, like in March and April. So man, y'all be safe, man. Do what you got to do. So it is what it is with that. So recently, man, this past weekend, I had the chance to host an event for my kids' school. For those who don't know, I'm very active in my kids' life. I'm very active at their school. I chair the Men Make a Difference committee on the PTSA board at their school. So this past weekend, this past Saturday, 4 p.m., we hosted our first event of the year. We did a virtual event with the kids. We did a virtual cooking event where we got the families together via Zoom, and everybody made homemade pizzas. You know what I mean? So that was cool. My babies are young. They're K through 8. They go to a K through 8 school, and they're both in elementary. But we got about 14, 15 kids out there with their parents, man, and just bringing the families together to cook, and the babies kind of did their thing, making pizzas and all that, and everybody was on Zoom having fun, laughing and talking and doing their thing. And so I got a lot of good feedback from that, from the parents, from the men, a lot of the ladies, man. They were very gracious and thankful that me and the brothers could put an event like that together to get the families together. You know what I mean? It was cool, man. My kids did their thing. They made a little pepperoni pizza. You know what I mean? They rolled the dough, all of that, put the sauce on there, cheese. So, these kids were very creative, man. I'm watching the Zoom and these kids putting pineapples on pizza. I mean, we were all black, but there's different levels to blackness. My blackness hasn't risen to the point where I could put pineapple on a pizza yet. You know what I mean? Straight up and down. But these kids was putting pineapples on pizza. They were putting mushrooms and they were chicken, cut up chicken breasts and all that. So like these kids were fancy, you know what I mean? And their parents too. But we had a great time. You know what I mean? It was very good. I got a lot of good feedback from the parents, from the moms, and, from the school, in our private group for the school. A lot of people were just putting pictures up and, being very, thankful and gracious that, we could pull something like that off. So I'm very proud of that. And I'm very proud of the brothers who participated and, who helped plan it and facilitate everything. So that was a great event. And I'm very I'm very thankful to be a part of that. So, all right. So I got somebody. Okay. So on November 7th, right? That was when, my homie C Boog had his self-improvement summit, and he invited me to come out there and speak. So I was out there, November 7th. That was a Saturday. I went out there to go speak. But before I left the house to go see Boog at the event and go see the homies, the 40, 50 plus homies that came through for the self-improvement summit. Before I left the house, the election was called. The election was called for Joe Biden. And so I'm getting ready to leave. I'm putting on my gear. I'm kissing my wife, kissing the babies, getting ready to roll. And I turn on, and I look to the TV and I see Van Jones on TV. You know what I mean? I see Van Jones crying. And then, I didn't really have the time to address it. I had somewhere to go. I had an engagement, that I had to be at. So I didn't really have time to address it. And then I got, some people have been asking me, what I thought about it. You know what I mean? Some people ask my wife, what she thought about it, or ask her, what did she think I thought about it and things like that. So I'm gonna tell y'all right now. But for those of y'all who did not see it, who did not see Van Jones do his thing on CNN or MSNBC, I'm not sure which network it was on. I think it was CNN. But if y'all did not see Van Jones on November 7th when they called the election for President-elect Joe Biden, I'm going to play it for y'all, and then I'm going to chime in with my comments, my opinions and my thoughts. So y'all be cool and watch this.
Van, what are your thoughts?
It's easier to be a parent this morning. It's easier to be a dad. It's easier to tell your kids character matters. It matters. Telling the truth matters. Being a good person matters. And it's easier for a whole lot of people. If you're Muslim in this country, you don't have to worry if the president doesn't want you here. If you're an immigrant, you don't have to worry if the president's going to be happier to have babies snatched away or send dreamers back for no reason. This is vindication for a lot of people who have really suffered. The I can't breathe. That wasn't just George Floyd. That was a lot of people that felt that they couldn't breathe. Every day you're waking up and you're getting these tweets and you just don't know. And you're going to the store and people who have been afraid to show their racism are getting nastier and nastier to you. And you're worried about your kids and you're worried about your sister. And can she just go to Walmart and get back into her car without somebody saying something to her? And you spent so much of your life energy just trying to hold it together. And this is a big deal for us just to be able to get some peace and have a chance for a reset. And the character of the country matters. And being a good man matters. I just want my sons to look at this. Look at this. It's easy to do it the cheap way and get away with stuff, but it comes back around. It comes back around. And this is a good day for this country. I'm sorry for the people who lost. For them, it's not a good day. But for a whole lot of people, it's a good day.
It's not a good day, man. You know what I'm saying? When Van did that, let me just start here. I haven't seen a performance like that since Jussie Smollett. It's not a great day, man. And let me say this. All right. Me personally, I think that the dude was up there performing. I think he was up there faking. I think he made himself cry. You know what I mean? I've done it. When I was a kid, I thought I was going to get a whooping and my mom was talking to me. I made myself cry, to avoid an ass whooping. You know what I mean? I've done it. Plenty of people have done it across the globe. And I think that Van Jones did it that day. You know what I mean? I think it was a performance. You know what I mean? Me personally, I think it looked soft. I thought it was very moist of him to do that. You know what I mean? And look, I get it. You know, people will say, they'll say, well, oh, you know, this is why men aren't emotional. This is why men aren't vulnerable. And this is why, you know, because when he does stuff like this, people make fun of black men who do stuff like that. I see you, Third Ward. And people make, people will make fun of guys like that. And this is why brothers aren't vulnerable. Okay. That right there wasn't vulnerable. That was moist right there. That was soft. And let me tell you, look, listen, if that's how he really felt, right? If he was really emotional, you know what I'm saying? That's something you do in the car. You cry in the car. You cry in the shower. When he was in the shower that day and he heard Biden won, cry in the shower. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, just, you know, when you put the Dove on and, you know, and the suds is dripping, you cry with the, you cry, you let the tears fall with the suds. You know what I mean? That's when you do that, man. You cry in the car on the way to, you know, to CNN studio. That's when you cry. You don't get up there in front of millions of people and cry like that. You know what I mean? Then you're crying for everybody except black folk. He's talking about, you know, Muslims can rest easy now. When have Muslims rested easy in this country? Let's just keep it a buck. Especially since 9/11, when have Muslim Americans in this country rested easy? Ain't nobody resting easy right now because Joe Biden is the president. Especially not black people, not the author of the 94 crime bill. You know what I mean? Not someone who came out and said, if y'all don't vote for me, you know, y'all ain't black, even though he's put nothing on the table, no tangibles on the table for you. And I heard him after he won, and he said, look, he owed black people. He does owe black people, because the reason why Joe Biden got elected is because black people came out in droves and voted for him in Milwaukee and Atlanta and, you know, in Philadelphia. And, you know, all of these swing states, the black people came out in those urban metropolitan cities and voted hardcore, voted more than any other election in the history of this country. You know what I mean? But for Van Jones to do that, that was soft. And we have a tendency as black people, especially black men, we have a tendency to you know, perform and do things like that just to get sympathy from people who really don't care nothing about us no way. You know what I mean? He's not going to get the sympathy that he's not going to get the support and the love that he's really trying to get with that. You know what I mean? Straight up and down. So look, I'm not saying, look, if you're an emotional cat, I mean, we're all emotional to a certain degree. They're all things that, you know, as men, we see worth crying over. And I'm not here to tell you what's worth crying over and what's not. But you have to have, man, like you can't get up on TV like that and ball like that, man. I mean, he was tearing up. He had the snot running like Viola Davis in Fences and you know, how to be a murderer or whatever. He had it going, man. He had it going hard. It was embarrassing, man. You know, I'm sitting here as a man, you know what I mean? My wife watching it, my kids, I'm looking at my son, man. You know what I'm saying? I ain't even want my son to see that. Straight up. We're in a war, man, and you have to posture and position yourself in a certain form and fashion. You know what I mean? Period. Nobody from CNN cried when we were catching hell. You know what I'm saying? When those 9 brothers and sisters got shot in that church in Charleston, South Carolina, nobody on CNN cried. When Trayvon got hit, and when Sandra Bland and you know, Breonna Taylor, all these people got popped off, nobody was on CNN, MSNBC crying for us, man. Nobody. Even if they really felt sorry for us, they damn sure ain't gonna get on TV, national TV, and cry like that. They're not gonna do it. So my opinion, he was very soft with that. You know what I'm saying? Look, I don't care. It is what it is. You know what I mean? I don't have nothing negative against the brother. I don't know the brother like that, but you know, he was doing a lot of soft showing. He does do a lot of soft showing and a lot of suspect energy he has on CNN and MSNBC and all these platforms that he's on. But that was a bad look, man. It was bad. You know, you could be happy for Biden if that's your man. You could say, look, I like the guy. I'm happy Trump is out. You know, whatever. But you don't get up there and start crying and stuttering and slobbing like that, man. You don't do that. That's not a good look. Straight up, it's not. So that's my opinion on Van, man. But today, Sasha, I see you. And happy birthday. Happy birthday to Sasha. Her birthday was yesterday. You know what I mean? She looked like she had a great time. I saw the pictures on the gram from your birthday dinner and all of that. You know what I mean? You look great. Happy birthday to you. Everybody wish Sasha a happy birthday. You know what I mean? In the chat. You know, big times, you know, supporter of the channel. You know what I mean? So yeah, so we're gonna get into it, man. We're gonna talk about owning your art, man. We're gonna talk about culture and legacy, owning your art. This show was inspired by for a few years now. I see you, MB. Shout out to MB. For a few years now, I've been a huge fan of the TV show Unsung. You know, my wife and I. Okay, are you getting flued out, or you flying out, or you getting flued out? You know what I'm saying? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. You know what I mean? I'm happy for you either way though. But you know, but enjoy that. You know, however you got on the plane, wherever you're getting off at, I'm happy for you. You know what I'm saying? Happy birthday, Jacqueline. I see you in here too. So for like a few years now, like a long time, I've been a huge fan of the TV show Unsung, right? If y'all haven't seen this show Unsung, it's a great show. It's on TV One, so y'all should have that on your cable plan. But the basis of the show Unsung, it's a show about artists, like black artists, black musicians, you know what I mean, over the years, who, you know, were hot, like they were really hot, they were really big. They had a lot of hits, a lot of hit records, you know, did a lot of great work for people. And then they kind of fell off, you know what I'm saying? So like they fell off, nobody knew what happened to them, you know what I mean? And so this show came out, and it was basically like a show or a series to kind of put some of the pieces to the puzzle about some of our favorite artists over the years that fell off, and you know, we had no idea what happened to them. So when they first started off, they would do all of these old acts, old bands. You know what I mean? People like Atlantic Starr, Betty Wright, Billy Preston, Bobby Bland, Bobby Womack, Bootsy Collins, you know, Cheryl Pepsi Riley, the Shy Lights, you know, Chuck Brown, you know what I mean? Confunction, the Delphonics, you know, the Dramatics, all of these great legendary acts and artists over the years that pumped out these amazing hits, right? Hits that we love, hits that our grandparents made our parents to, and hits that our parents made us to, you know what I mean? Just legendary artists. And then that's how it started off. So later on in the series, they started coming into our generation, folks who grew up, folks who were in their teens and 20s and whatever in the 90s and so on and so forth. And in the late 80s, they started doing shows about acts like that, you know, about artists like that. So they did stuff about 702, After 7, Avant, Angie Stone, Arrested Development, Big Daddy Kane, Montel Jordan, you know what I mean? All of these joints, you know what I mean? All of these acts, Drew Hill, everybody. And so I would watch it religiously. Like my wife and I, we would DM it. What do you call it? A DVR, whatever. We record it, you know what I'm saying? And then it was even so popular. Like, you know, I would watch it with my mom, my mother-in-law. We watch it because, you know, I always had a huge fascination with music. I always loved music. I've been a connoisseur of music. A lot of people don't know this about me, but I'm a huge, I love all types of music. I'm a huge jazz fan. I mean, the legends, you know, Ella Fitzgerald, Sarah Vaughan, the greatest saxophonist to ever play, John Coltrane, Thelonious Monk, who's from North Carolina like myself, Miles Davis, all of that. So I love music. And I knew a lot of these older acts because, a lot of rap artists would sample these guys. You know what I mean? A lot of rap artists would sample it. So, I would be in the car when I was a kid, and my mom, she would always play the oldie but goodie station. So she would play her joints, and I would hear all this old music, and I would love it. You know what I mean? The music was rich, the instrumentation was dope, the harmonies were dope. You know what I mean? The instruments were live. They all used live instruments, and so I fell in love with that older music, and then I fell in love with it again. When I got a little bit older into my teens, when a lot of rap artists started sampling it. You know what I'm saying? Unsung is dope. If y'all ain't seen Unsung, check it out on TV One. You could probably go on YouTube and find episodes of Unsung. It's a very good show. And so and it inspired me to kind of do some digging on the music side. Like my wife and I, we used to have season tickets to the Redskins or to the Washington football team. And then about after 5 years, we started, we canceled the season tickets and we started doing a road game every year. So we do a road game. We've been to like 13, 14 different stadiums in the NFL so far. We were going to go to Cleveland this year, but COVID wouldn't allow that. And one of the places that we went to was Detroit. And if you ever go to Detroit, I love Detroit. It's a dope city. If you ever go to Detroit, you got to go to the Motown Museum. You know what I mean? You got to go to the original headquarters of Motown. It's a beautiful place. You go up in there, you see all this culture, all this legacy, all this art. You go in the same studio that, Stevie Wonder and the Jackson 5 and, my grandmother's favorite, Smokey Robinson and the Miracles. You go in all these, the Supremes and, so on and so forth. All these different, DC's own Marvin Gaye, you know what I mean? Tammy Terrell, all these great acts. But to get back to my point, when you watch Unsung, you see the same theme over and over and over again with all these artists. I don't care if they were popping in 1950 or if they were popping in 2002. The same theme comes about over and over and over again, is that these artists went broke because they did not own their art. They did not. Shout out to Berry Gordy. You know what I mean? Legend. Legend. So when you watch the show, like I said, it doesn't matter what era it's in, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, whatever. You see the same thing with these artists. 95% of them, 99% of them did not own their art. 99% of them got jerked by their record labels. They got robbed. You know what I mean? I'm a huge fan of like LaFace Records. LaFace was popping in the 90s. They had Tony Braxton. They had TLC. They had, a few other artists over there. And all of them jokers went broke. You know what I'm saying? Like Babyface, I love you, but you and L.A. Reid, y'all should have got them cats some better accountants because they all went broke. And they talked about it, how TLC talked about how they have probably the biggest R&B album ever, which was Crazy Sexy Cool. I think that was their second album. It went diamond. For those who don't know what diamond is when you sell over 10 million copies of your record. 1 million is platinum, 500,000 is gold, 10 million is diamond. That is diamond. Okay. TLC had a diamond record with Crazy Sexy Cool. And according to them, and shout out to Left Eye, rest in peace to Left Eye. According to them, they only made about $50,000 each from that album. They sold 10 million copies. They toured the album. They did world tours. TLC, if you remember, like back in my era, like in the 90s, you had crazy R&B groups and they were all hot. R&B, like the 90s is my favorite era in music, period. Especially in hip hop, because you had so many different styles. You had your gangster rap, you had your backpack rap, you had your southern rap, and I don't care where you were from, it was hot. And being from North Carolina, my brother and I, we used to always, like, I used to work at McDonald's when I was in high school. So I get my little check, my little $200 every 2 weeks, and we run to the gear store. We get some kicks, we get some sneakers, some jeans, whatever. And then immediately after that, we would run to the CD store. Back then you had CD stores. You know what I mean? You had Mr. Freeze, you had FYI and all of that. And so we would go to the CD store. We would cop everything because like in that era in the 90s, everything was hot. I don't care. You know, the same day you could get a Wu-Tang album, you could get a Common album, you could get an album from UGK, you could get an album from Snoop, you could get an album from Do or Die, you can get an album from Outkast, you can get an album from 8 Ball and MJG. All of these cats was dropping music all over the country, repping their cities, repping their hoods, and it was all dope. You know what I'm saying? I could, if I wanted some Screw, I could go to DJ Screw, I could go to Fat Pat, I go to Screwed Up Click. It was hot. You know what I'm saying? UGK from Port Arthur from PA dropped something, it was hot. You know, Master P would drop something, Ghetto D, Mr. Ice Cream Man, it was hot. I didn't care where you were from. You know what I'm saying? That era was hot, and none of it sounded the same. I could go to Tribe Called Quest, they were hot. The Far Side out in California, they were hot. You know what I'm saying? The big homie, what's my man? I can't even think of his name, from the Bay, E40, Fonzarelli, E40, Sprinkle Me, out from the Bay, he was hot. Everything was hot. So that's like my favorite era in music. And then you had the R&B groups. I could probably name 30 off the top of my head. But the thing with Unsung was all of those artists were broke. They all got jerked. You know what I mean? Every last one. It was sad. I got so upset. I had to take a break from watching it because it was the same theme and you know, same energy over and over and over again. We came out, we put an album out, we had a hit, we got a gold record, we had a platinum record, we're touring, we're going all over the world. You know what I mean? We're doing 50 shows, you know what I mean, all over the place. And we get back and it's time to get the check cut, and it's pennies on the dollar. And then back then, and back in the day, like in that George Clinton era, like back in that 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s era, what the labels would do to those artists is they would use, so like instead of paying them, like directly paying them what they owe, they would use that money to give them an advance on their next album. So these artists were always in debt. You know what I mean? These artists were always broke. That's why people like George Clinton to this day, you know what I mean? George Clinton probably going to tour and make music to the day he died because he was broke. Until artists like Michael Jackson, when he came in and wound up owning like 95% of Sony, when he owned all the masters that Sony owned, Michael Jackson started giving a lot of these old artists, legendary artists, he started giving them their masters. He started giving it to them. Like he didn't even charge them. He owned like all the masters that belonged to Sony. He just maneuvered it a certain way where all of a sudden he owns Sony. He owns all the masters to all this timeless work. And so these guys get residual. So every time you watch a movie and somebody's playing an old Sarah Vaughan record or playing an old Shy Lights or Manhattan's record, those artists are supposed to get paid. But if you don't own the masters to your music, if you don't own your art, whoever owns your art gets paid. I remember when I watched it and they did the show on Montel Jordan. When Montel Jordan was on there, and we know the brother from the 90s, This Is How We Do It, and his self-titled first album, and then he did something for the Honeys, you know what I mean? And then his second album, you know, he was hot. He had a run, you know what I mean, in the 90s. With This Is How We Do It and something for the Honeys. I remember I was in middle school. I was like 6th, 7th grade when that jumped off. And so he came out and he was like, yo, like I didn't own my stuff. I had an accountant that was supposed to be handling my money, paying my taxes, paying my bills for me. The accountant didn't do it. And I wound up having to file for bankruptcy. And so the government came in, they took all of my assets. They seized all his assets. So this brother don't even own the rights to This Is How We Do It. He don't own the rights to something for the Honeys. Last time I heard, Montel Jordan was like a preacher in Atlanta. He was pastoring a church, or he had a ministry out in Atlanta. You know what I'm saying? But so every time you watch a commercial and you hear This Is How We Do It, the beat or the arrangement or whatever, he doesn't get a dime from that because he didn't own his art. And so that show inspired this live today, because I want Black people to know and understand that it is very important for you to own your art. You know what I mean? It's own your craft. I don't care what you're doing. If you write a book, if you have a YouTube channel, if you I don't care what I know Third Ward out there from Houston. You know what I mean? I had to throw that in, man. But I'm telling you, like, being in North Carolina, we listen to a lot of music. We didn't really have our own distinct sound. Like DC has its own sound. Like when you come to DC, you're gonna hear go-go. Like DC got love for everybody. Like they're gonna play everybody's music. But certain cities have their own sound. Like DC has its own sound. Houston is one of those cities that has its own sound. Nobody sounds like Houston. You know what I mean? Nobody was screwing and chopping the music. So when I heard it, you know, when I heard the Screwed Up Click and you know, when I heard Kiki and them and Zero and all them cats, it was dope. When I heard Devin the Dude and Rap A Lot Records, and it was dope. You know what I mean? Straight up and down. So, and being in North Carolina, like you know, we didn't have our own sound, so we loved everything. We had respect for everything. When all those artists would come to places in Raleigh, like back in the day, we had a club called Plum Crazy, and we had the Ritz. And I was too young to get up in there, but you know, when all those artists would come through and perform at the Ritz or at Plum Crazy or whatever, or Four in a Break, you know, we showed them love. You know, we rolled out the red carpet because we had a lot of love for everybody's music. But yeah, man, owning your art is very important for Black people because, you know, black folks, we are some of the most, if not the most creative and innovative people on this planet. And we don't own it. We don't own what we innovate. We don't own what we create. And so because we don't own it, it puts us in a unfortunate situation, because when you own your art, it ties directly to culture and legacy. That's why I titled this live Culture and Legacy, Owning Your Art, because every group of people who call themselves a community, a civilization, a tribe, whatever, they have two things that they value. They value culture and they value legacy. Culture is basically what you believe, what you stand on. Your religion is based on your culture. Your religion is basically a deification of your culture. Islam is a deification of Middle Eastern culture. Christianity is a deification of European culture. That's the way that it's written up. That's the way that it's portrayed to the people. When you look at all of these people, like you get into Norse mythology, and you like when you look into Marvel, you know, Odin and Thor and Loki, these are all Norse gods. These are all gods or deifications of people that were from a different, you know, from a certain area. They were Nordic people who you know, who became Germanic, or who eventually became Germanic or affiliated with German culture over time. But religion and spirituality is just a deification of your culture. So you have to have a culture. The foundation of a group of people is their culture. That's what they believe in. That's what they stand on. That's what they support and build off of, your culture. And then the legacy comes in, because once you build it, and once you create a system around what you built to promote good behavior and to punish bad behavior that goes against that culture, then you develop legacy. You have children, you have families, and then you pass it down. That's all legacy is. It's just passing down culture, wealth, resources to the next generation. So when you don't own your art, when you don't own what you create, you really don't have a culture. And when you don't have a culture, you don't have legacy. You don't have anything to pass down. You know what I mean? A lot of people in our community are rich, but they're not wealthy. Wealth is steeped in culture and legacy. You know, there's a huge difference between being rich and being wealthy. Black people, for the most part, are rich. And, you know, the people who are getting money, who are Black in this country, they're rich, but they're not wealthy. And there's a huge difference. You know what I mean? People who are rich, they tend to spend money. You know what I mean? They tend to spend a lot of money. They're very flashy. They have to show you everything that they own. You know what I mean? If they worth $1 million, they're going to show you $1 million when you see them. You're going to see it in their grill. You're going to see it on their neck. You're going to see it on their waist. You're going to see it on their feet. You're going to see it. You're going to see it all over the place. That's rich. Rich people spend money. Wealthy people save and invest money. You understand what I'm saying? Wealthy people save and invest money. So even though a wealthy person may buy things, they buy and invest in things that will appreciate in value. They buy real estate. They invest in the stock market. They buy gold. You know what I'm saying? I got to do a whole show about like the banking system and how, our banking system, our money is not backed by anything. You know what I mean? It's paper. It's just fiat. We don't have anything back to back our money. So that's why all these people are so afraid of, our monetary system, collapsing, because it's not backed by anything, where it used to be backed by gold. It was on the gold standard, and then it was taken away with the implementation and the creation of the Federal Reserve System all the way back in 1913. But I'll break that down later for y'all on another show. But wealthy people, they save money and they invest in things that will appreciate in value. That's the difference between rich people and wealthy people. Like, for example, buying real estate, investing in the stock market, like I said. You know what I mean? Wealthy people have sustainable wealth. Wealthy people can just sit back and do nothing and make money. You know what I mean? They have sustainable wealth, which means that a wealthy person will always be wealthy. They'll always be wealthy. The Wahlbergs will always be wealthy. The Rockefellers will always be wealthy. You know what I mean? What's the banking family that I can't think of, but all of those families, they will always be wealthy. The Rothschilds, they will always be wealthy. That's what wealth looks like. You know what I mean? Whereas somebody who's merely rich or who's rich will only be rich for a short period of time until that money is gone. You know what I mean? Wealthy people know how to make money. Rich people know how to spend money. That's the difference right there. And so, in a couple of nights, in Thursday night, we're going to see the NBA draft. And the NBA draft, I always get up for the NBA draft. I get up for the NFL draft too, but I always get up for the for the NBA draft, because I love seeing a lot of black kids wake up in the morning with $86 in their account and then walk across the stage, put on a hat, shake some hands. And by the time they go to bed that night or the next night, they have $5, $10, $15, $20 million in their bank account. I'm in love with stuff like that. You know what I mean? I get up for that. You know what I'm saying? So I love watching the NBA draft. It's Thursday night. I'm going to check that out. But even with that, athletes are, and we love our athletes. We love LeBron, AD, all these guys make a lot of money. They're very wealthy. They're very rich, but they're not wealthy because, as you know, they don't own their art. They work for someone. And so I will always wonder about things like that. Like, we never really put the emphasis on the owner. The owners are the ones making all the bread. If an owner can pay LeBron $50 million a year, how much money do you think he has in order to be able to pay somebody $50 million a year? You know what I mean? That's why we don't understand it. When Donald Sterling got caught up with the Clippers and they made him sell his team, he was upset. He didn't want to sell. And so he wound up, selling it. They forced him to sell the Clippers, and he sold it for $2 billion. And people were looking at Donald Sterling like, wow, like, why are you upset? Like, you just made $2 billion in one sale. Like, what are you doing? But see, Donald Sterling understood legacy. And he understands that, he wanted to own the Clippers forever. And he wanted to pass it down to his children. That's what these owners do. When you look at football, you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Pittsburgh Steelers are owned by the Rooneys, the Rooney family. And they have owned that team since like the 60s. And when granddaddy dies, you know, daddy's going to take it over, or they'll have a council, or of all the Rooney children, and they'll make decisions on the team and stuff like that. But that's something that they want to keep in the family. They want to pass that down to their children. So that's the value in ownership. That's the value in owning your art and owning your brand, is that you can pass it down. You know what I mean? We can't pass down a job. We can't pass down, no matter how lucrative an endorsement deal is with Nike or Old Navy, or or Patek Philippe, whatever it is. You can't pass that endorsement down to your children. You know what I mean? You can only get the money while it's there to get, and then hold on to what you get and try to flip it. You know what I'm saying? But when you're wealthy, it's going to make money on its own, and then you pass that down to your children. You know what I mean? So that's the difference between being rich and being wealthy. And that's why it's so important to own your art. You know what I mean? What does it mean when you own your art? What's the benefit of owning your art? The benefit of owning your art and why it's important is because you get freedom. You know what I mean? Ownership is freedom. You know what I mean? Facts. Let me see what Third World's talking about. Third World said, would you consider Jordan wealthy? He's a multi-billionaire, owns an NBA team, and it's estimated he makes about $150 million a year off of Jordan sneakers. Yes, I would consider Jordan wealthy. I will say this. He became wealthy, in my opinion, when he bought the Charlotte Hornets. If you guys know anything about the Kicks, about Nike and Jordan, Jordan brand is a subsidiary of Nike. And so basically, under the Nike umbrella, Jordan has his own division. He has his own lane, where all the other artists, all the other athletes, like, whoever was on Nike, if it was Kobe, LeBron, whatever, they're under just the Nike umbrella. But because of Jordan, because of who he was, being the greatest player ever, and that's not up for debate for all you LeBron lovers. Jordan has his own company under a company. So he has Jordan brand. He owns a majority stake in Jordan brand. But he really popped it off when he bought the Charlotte Hornets. That's when he really became wealthy, in my opinion. But owning a majority stake in the Jordan brand and making decisions on the Jordan brand, he could pass that down to his children. He could pass down his majority ownership to his children, and he could definitely pass down the Charlotte Hornets to his kids, when he's ready to do that. So yeah, I would definitely consider my man Mike wealthy. Mike was, and he's a billionaire as well. So shout out to my man Mike. So it's important to own your art because you get freedom. When you own your stuff, there's a certain level of freedom that comes with that. You know what I mean? You don't have people in your ear. You don't have people trying to take you off of your square, trying to take you off of your goal and your mission as it relates to your company or to your business or to your brand. You have freedom. One of my favorite, Black revolutionary warriors is Malcolm X. I love Malcolm X, and I have a great deal of respect for the entire Nation of Islam. Starting off with Master Fard, and then the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, then Malcolm, then Farrakhan, and then to the late great, as well, Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad. So, but when you look at these, right, he actually did buy a NASCAR team as well. So Mike is doing his thing. Like, Mike is wealthy. Mike is he's doing his thing. He owned, I remember growing up in North Carolina, he had all kind of car dealerships in North Carolina as well, and restaurants and things like that. So Mike is wealthy, straight up and down. So I lost my point. Right. So I have a lot of love and respect for the Nation of Islam. And one of the reasons why they can be so bold with their speech, with their diction, with their opinions and their views, is because they are a self-contained unit. Members of the Nation of Islam, especially in Chicago, where their headquarters is located, a member of the Nation of Islam can wake up in the morning. He can go get a lineup at a barbershop owned by the Nation of Islam. He can go get a bite to eat at a restaurant owned by the Nation of Islam. He can go and drop his clothes off at the cleaners owned by the Nation of Islam. He can basically, he can go to a grocery store and buy whatever whatever he plans to eat, whatever he wants his wife, to make for dinner. He can go to a grocery store owned by the Nation of Islam. And so he can go around all day, every day, and just patronize businesses owned and operated by the Nation of Islam. And when you can do that, when you don't need people, when you don't have to go out of your circle, out of your community, out of your culture to get things to be able to survive, you can be confident in your speech. You can be very confident in how you talk, and you can tell people exactly how you feel about them because you don't need them. So when you have ownership of your art, you have power. You have power to create. You don't have people in your ear telling you what's hot, what's not. A lot of our artists, a lot of our music artists, our rappers and stuff like that, our R&B singers and things like that, when they go to a label, a major label, they get signed and, they get their advance, they get their money, and they start working on their album. When they work on their album, they have to turn it in to the label. And the label, people who don't understand their culture, people who didn't grow up where they grew up, people who have no idea about what's going on in the street, these people will sit down and listen to their album and critique it and give it back to them and say, we need to change this. Or they'll listen to an album and say, okay, like that artist could have their heart set on a single. Like, this is going to be my lead single. I'm starting off with this. This one's going to be a hit, whatever. And they'll turn that music in, and the label will say, no, we don't like that song. We like this. Or we need you to sound more like this person. You know what I mean? Who's hot right now? So whoever's hot right now, we need you to sound a little like, we need your sound to be a little bit like theirs. You know what I mean? Houston is hot right now. Everybody's screwing and chopping right now. So even though you're from DC and you may not have no experience screwing and chopping, we want you to put a single on your album where you screw it up and chop it. You know what I'm saying? And so that's how it works when you don't have control. A lot of these artists, when they do, even in the film game, with Nate Parker, when he did Birth of a Nation, a lot of people told him that he wasn't going to get that movie off the ground because it wasn't going to get approved by, by these big time white movie producers or movie execs at these studios. They weren't going to approve it. They're not going to approve a black man riding around Virginia, killing white folk. They're not going to approve it. They're not going to say, hey, let's, we sign off on this. Let's go. This is a go. They're not going to do that. And so even when he made the film and put it out, he had to put up a lot of his own money. He didn't get the budget that a lot of other, movies that were complete trash got. And they wanted him to change it. When you do these Black revolutionary movies, a lot of times Hollywood wants you to put a white savior in the movie. So they want you to put a white person in the movie that makes white people feel good about the movie. So when you see Harriet, when you see Birth of a Nation, when you see Glory, when you see, all of these movies, when you see Rosewood and all of these movies about us, fighting back or having to deal with, oppression and racism and injustice, they always want to and try to make sure to put a white, what you would call a quote unquote white savior in the movie. Somebody who's not that bad. Somebody who helps, Black people here and there. You know what I mean? They want you to do that. And a lot of these artists have to do it because they don't have ownership of their art. They have to play the game. You know what I'm saying? And so, and like Sasha said, there's nothing like being in control of your own art. You have to control when you control it, you make the decisions, and you can make them, off of your own energy, off of your own aura, your own essence. You do, basically what I'm saying is you do what feels right to you. If it doesn't feel right to you, you don't have to do it. Sasha's in the chat. Like I said, her birthday just passed. Happy birthday to her. She's published. You know what I mean? She's published now. She wrote a book. She has a cookbook, for vegans. Check that out. She has her own thing where she helps women lose weight and live a vegan, plant-based lifestyle. And that's her art, and she controls it. So she's only going to do what she feels comfortable with doing. When you don't own it, people can come in and say, hey, look like this, act like this, say this, stand right here. You know what I mean? We don't want you to do a cookbook right now. We don't want you to do this right now. We want you to do this. You know what I mean? And she may not be comfortable with that. You know what I mean? But if you don't own it, you have to go with the flow. That's why a lot of these rappers, that's why a lot of the music is the way it is right now, because a lot of these artists don't own their sound. They don't own their art. So the labels are telling them, we need guns, we need gangs, we need shooting, we need you calling women out their name, we need you beefing with everybody, because that's what's going to sell. A lot of these guys, I'm telling you, man, some of these artists that y'all think are mumble rappers, some of these artists that y'all think are trash, they are very dope. They're very dope. Like not just dope, but they're very intelligent. They're very deep. One of my favorite rappers, and I love rap. One of my favorite rappers is 2 Chainz. I love 2 Chainz. You know what I mean? He just dropped the album. And every time, if I hear 2 Chainz on a record, if I buy an album, if I download a record and 2 Chainz is on a single, if he's a guest appearance on a song, that's the first song I go to. It's certain artists that I do that for. I do that for Jay-Z. I do that for 2 Chainz. I do that for Rick Ross. I do that for like Offset. If I see them featured on a song, as a guest appearance, a guest rapper, Wayne, you know what I mean? Bun B or somebody like that. If I see them as a guest artist on a single, that's the first single I go to on your album. And 2 Chainz, if you ever listen to him, he's a very deep brother. He's very articulate, but and a lot of these artists are, but the labels require them or will force them to dumb down their sound in order to sell, because they don't think that the people want real food. They don't think the people really want that plant-based, natural, organic energy. They think they want processed music, processed food, processed energy. So that's what they want flooded in the market. But when you give people the option, to get something between, what's real and what's fake, what's organic and what's processed, you know what I mean? People will choose what's organic if you give them the option. Even with plant-based food, I'm going off on a tangent for a second, but even with plant-based foods, a lot of folks, when you go to grocery stores in the Black community, we don't necessarily have the best fruit or the best produce. You know what I mean? And then when you go to places that have great produce or great fruits, vegetables, things like that, people tend to think they're expensive. But then you could go to a McDonald's or a Burger King and buy, 4 Whoppers and 5 fries and 4 sodas for $13. You know what I'm saying? So facts, Sasha, that's a very good point. That's the reason why the mixtapes sound better than their real albums. When you listen to these artists, everybody knows about mixtape Wheezy and all these cats. Like, their mixtapes they go way harder than their studio albums, because on the mixtapes, they have creative control. They can do what they want. Whatever sound they want, whatever energy they want to put out on a record, they usually do that through the mixtapes. And then a lot of times, like the songs that really, really hit on the mixtapes, those are the ones that labels will come say, hey, you got to put that song on your album, on your official album, because we heard it. It's a buzz, it's a bop. Everybody's riding a wave off of. You got to put that on your album. But that's why mixtapes sound a whole lot better than studio albums, because the studio, they have to turn it into the label. Just imagine if you're a business owner, right? Everybody here, just imagine for a second that you own a business, you own a brand, and you work for a label. Like, let's say you're an artist, you're a singer, you're a rapper, whatever, and you work for a label, and you turn in your album. It's rich. You have all the instruments you want, you have the sounds you want, you got the producers you want. Everything is perfect. You know what I mean? You're talking about your life, your experiences. You poured your heart into this album. Now imagine you going into a boardroom with 8 people that aren't black, that have no idea what you're talking about. They don't understand your slang. They don't understand Houston slang. They don't understand New Orleans slang. They don't understand DC slang. They don't understand anything about your culture. And then they listen to your album and they say, you know what, it's okay, but I don't like these 3 songs. You gotta take that off. Oh, you know what? You know, we also have another artist on the label. We have an artist. We have Justin Bieber's on the label. We just signed Justin Bieber. You should do a great. It'd be great if you did a song with him, or if you let him sing a hook on your album. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm not saying nothing's wrong with them, but I'm like, that's not the energy you want. You know what I'm saying? It's not. So that's why you got to have creative control. And honestly, a lot of artists now in this era have their own masters. So a lot of these mumble rappers that y'all can't stand, you know, a lot of these young guys are business minded. They own their music. They own that mumble. You know what I'm saying? That mumble is theirs, and they make all the money off of it. But yeah, but Sasha, to answer your question, that's why mixtapes go harder. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's a singer. I don't care, you know, whatever it is. A lot of times these artists, their mixtapes, Wayne, like Chantel said, Wayne and Bootsy, man, their best stuff is on their mixtapes. If y'all want some heat, some fire, mixtapes. Everybody knows about the mixtape Wheezy. You know what I'm saying? People like mixtape Wheezy is up there with Jay and Big and Nas and the elite cats. That's how much respect people have for the mixtape Wheezy, because he goes hard on it and he doesn't have to answer to anybody, to a label for that. So it's very important to own your art. That's why you get freedom. You get power to influence the message and the theme of whatever you own. Okay? If you own something, you have the power to influence the message and the theme that you want. You know what I mean? That you want. There are a lot of cats there where I see you, Jadakiss. Go back and listen to like that old fabulous stuff, the mixtapes. Another cat, what's the cat from Philly? Oh man, I can't think of his name right now. I'm looking right at his face. Cassidy. These cats go hard on mixtapes. Meek Mill, you go back and listen to some, and you know, if you listen to some mixtapes from Meek Mill and artists like that, it's dope. But when you own your art, man, you get to influence, you get to have control over the influence of your sound, of your company, whatever you own, whatever your art is, your book, your music, your whatever it is you own, whatever art you own, you have the power to influence that message and theme. You get to put out the message that you want. You get to put out the theme that you want. When you have to answer to somebody, when you have to get approval from somebody, they really control your art. They control it. So they will say, we're not putting this album out until you do this. We're not putting this album out until one of the biggest artists that ever, really fought the system and got his stuff was Prince. I love Prince. You know what I'm saying? Prince is a legend. You know what I mean? And Prince was like that. He got into it with Warner Brothers, his label, and and they tried to control his sound and tried to dictate to him what he could put out and when he could put it out. And he said, no, I'm not doing that. And then they tried to stop him from making music. So that's when he gave up his name. That's when he started going by the artist formerly known as, because he couldn't perform under Prince. He couldn't do music under that name Prince, because that name Prince at the time was owned. Prince and everything Prince made was owned by Warner Brothers at the time. So he couldn't control it. He couldn't even do his own music under his own name because he didn't own it. And so he had his war with Warner Brothers, and he did a few albums under the artist label, and then he finally got that worked out and got control of his music. And then he owned it, and then he started his own label. He started Paisley Park, and he started doing his own music. So you get to control it. The reason why we as Black people, we can't and we don't control the theme of ourselves, the essence of ourselves, because we don't control our art. So the majority of the images that we see out here come through the lens of people that don't look like us. You know what I mean? Right, Chantel. That's right. And y'all can look that up. But he was signed to Warner Brothers Records, and he was like their biggest artist. Prince was doing his thing over there. We all know him from Purple Rain and Come, the Come album, and Around the World in a Day and Sign of the Times. Yeah, I'm a youngin', but I love Prince. And you know what I mean? And so he got into a dispute with Warner Brothers. You know what I mean? A lot of people don't know, but the first Batman film with Jack Nicholson and them, Prince did that soundtrack for that whole soundtrack was a Prince album. That Batman album was a Prince album. He just gave it to Warner Brothers for the movie. But he did every song on that Batman album, on that Batman soundtrack. It was a Prince album that he just gave to them for the Batman soundtrack. He said, "Y'all take this, y'all can make this the Batman soundtrack, but it's my album. I'll call it Batman, but it's a solo record." And so he got into a dispute with Warner Brothers, and they said, "Look, until you get this right, you can't perform. You can't perform under this name. You can't perform under our umbrella." And they thought that they were going to stifle him and they were going to take him away from performing. But Prince said, "No, you know what I'm saying? I'll just go by another name and I'll make hits." And, he had that period of time where he was the artist formerly known as Prince and Miss V, I See You. And, and he was still dropping hits, still dropping heat, Raven to the Joy, Fantastic and all of that. He kept coming, the Gold album. But the reason why we have so many problems in America is because we don't control our art, and because we don't control it and other people control it, they get to control the images that the world sees. You know what I mean? I lived in South Korea for a year. You know what I mean? I lived in South Korea, and when I first went over there, there were Asian kids walking around with cornrows. You know what I mean? Listening to rap. And when I went to Africa, it was the same way. I went to Ghana and I got off the plane and everybody was just, following us around on our bus, and they would just ask us about like what music we were listening to, and they knew Lauryn Hill and they knew Wu-Tang and they knew, they knew Jay-Z and Biggie and all these artists. They knew Snoop, you know what I mean? But because we don't control our art, other people control it, and they get to put out images that they want. So what the world sees about Black people, they see Black people through the lens of white people, through the lens of other races of people. So this is why when you watch these movies, the Black person is always the first one to get killed. Or when you watch these movies, and I watch shows and films with my wife, and I always peep stuff like that. My third eye is wide open. And I watch these movies, and I watch how Black men and Black women are portrayed in these films. You know what I mean? Whether it's TV shows or films or whatever. And like 85% of the time it's negative. I remember we were watching Ozark, like that show on Netflix, where, the married couple was, moving weight for these cartels or whatever. I think it was called Ozark. And so Ozark had like 2 seasons so far. And they had only 2 Black people on the show. 2 Black people on the show. They were both cops. No, there were 3 Black people on the show. 3. 2 of them were FBI agents. And one of them was just like a low-level drug, dealer who got killed like within 5 minutes of him appearing on the show. Then the other 2 people, the FBI agents on the show, the guy, he was gay. He was gay, and his lover was another FBI agent, a white guy, and he always deferred to this white guy. The white guy ran him, the white guy ordered him around, made him look dumb every time he was on the screen, have them sitting down, standing up, running, all this kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? And so the brother was just very effeminate, and he was very weak. You know what I mean? He couldn't do anything without his white male lover. He couldn't do anything. He had to answer to him. And they were both agents. And then the other joint, the other FBI agent on the show, she was a black woman. She wasn't married. She was pregnant, and no idea where the father was, no idea who the father was, none of that. You know what I'm saying? So this is how they see us the majority of the time. And it's because we don't control our art. So we don't control these images. So people who don't know us will look at us through Ozark, will look at us through rap, will look at us through film, and they'll say, this is what black people are, because this is all that we see. When I was in the military, I went to basic training with a guy who hadn't seen black people before. I can't remember where he was from, but he had never seen like a black person in person. He had never seen like a real black person. And so he went to basic training. And everybody, he grew up in a rural town somewhere, I think in the deep South or Midwest somewhere. And, one of them towns where the population is, 14. And he went to basic training with me in Fort Jackson, South Carolina. And that was the first time he had seen a black person up close, not on TV. You know what I mean? So every inclination, every idea, every thought that he had related to black people was based on what he saw. And we don't control these images. You know what I mean? That's where this whole narrative comes from with, the gender war and all black women are this and all black women are that. And they're gold diggers and they date pookies. And a lot of that isn't us. A lot of that is cultures, other groups of people and cultures that aren't us that are putting this stuff out. And then they get a few of us, sellout Negroes who will go co-sign that mess. And then they have the whole world thinking that. You know what I'm saying? So you have to control your art. You have to control your culture, your art, because you get to control the narrative. You get to put out movies and films and TV shows and books and music that bring positive energy to the black experience, that let people know that, everybody that's black and live in the hood, that live in Orlando or live in Houston, don't sleep with a gun at night. That don't check their mailbox every day with a bulletproof vest on. You know what I mean? That they're different. We're different, just like any other group. But you have to control that narrative. And you have to understand the value of ownership. When you go, like, matter of fact, I'm going to get into a clip. I'm going to play a couple clips for y'all from one of my mentors, man, Dr. Claude Anderson, you know what I mean, who's a legend. But I'm going to play a couple clips from him. And they're very quick. I think one's 2 minutes, one's like 4 minutes. But other groups of people understand control. They understand culture, legacy, and owning your art. And when they own their art, and they're not going to sell it to you. A lot of times when we own something in the black community, we own it and it pops, it blows up. We'll sell it. We'll sell it off. You know what I mean? So we'll start a record label. And once it hits a certain point and we can make a lot of money, and other groups, Asian groups, white groups, whatever, come to us and say, hey, this label is hot. Let me buy it from you. This restaurant is hot. Let me buy it from you. This clothing line that you started is hot. Let me buy it from you. Your plant-based company where you're doing weight loss tips and you're doing videos and you're doing cookbooks and you're doing plant-based apparel, that's hot right now. Let me buy it up off you. And a lot of us are willing to just sell it because they offered us 5 million, 10 million, 1 million, whatever. But other groups of people aren't going to do that to us. You can't go into Chinatown. You can't go into a Chinatown in your city and say, look, I'm gonna buy one of y'all restaurants. I want to buy this. It's a little carry out right here in Chinatown. I want to buy this. I don't care how much money you have. That restaurant, one of those restaurants in Chinatown could be worth maybe $750,000. Like they may do 500, 750,000 a year. Let's just say they do that. I'm just throwing a number out there, throwing a figure out. You go to them and you say, I got $5 million for you. I want to buy this carry out. They ain't going to sell it to you. They're not. because they understand culture and they understand legacy. That carry out, that Chinese restaurant, they're going to pass that down to their children. When you walked in here and offered me $5 million to buy this carry out, you saw my son at the register. You saw my wife, you know, being a hostess or doing whatever the wife does in the restaurant. You saw me and my father in the back cooking. So when you walked in here, you saw my entire family in this restaurant, growing this restaurant, cooking, making the food, working the register, taking out the trash. This is a family business. This business is based off of culture. It is based off of legacy. This, whatever this is, whether it's 500, 750,000, whatever, I'm going to pass this down to my children. And I can't pass them down. I can't pass them down your $5 million. You know what? I can, but I want to give them infrastructure. Because of and the other, and even if there was one person in that community, in that Chinatown, who was willing to do it, the other restaurants, the other people, the power players in that community would check him ASAP. Because this is our space. This is our safe space, our safe place. This is our comfort zone. This is ours, that we're going to leave to our children, that we're going to use to finance our own, monetize and weaponize our own community, which means we're not selling to anybody that's on the outside looking in, racially speaking. We're not going to sell to you. That's right, Ms. V. I see you. Yeah, BET sold a Viacom. I think BET sold a Viacom for $1 or $2 billion. And so you got BET, Black Entertainment Television. I want y'all to do, when y'all get some time, I want y'all to just Google BET Board of Directors. Google BET Board of Directors, and the majority of them don't look like you. So the people who sign off on BET shows, the people who sign off on all of the content that's played on BET, 70% of them aren't Black. 70% of them don't look like you. They have no affiliation with you, your culture, your aura, your energy, your essence at all. They have no connection to your art outside of the fact that we own it and now we're going to make money off it. BET should have never been sold. And if you're going to sell it, sell it to, somebody Black. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. That should be us. Ownership comes with a cost. This country loved Oprah Winfrey when she was playing that big mammy role. And she still kind of goes back to it from time to time. But when she was doing it on her show, people loved Oprah. Oh, she was the biggest talk show host on TV. Millions, tens upon tens of millions of people watch Oprah every day, talk show. But when Oprah said, you know what? I want to own my own network, they ain't really caping for Oprah like that no more. We the only ones watching the own network. You know what I'm saying? She got Tyler Perry and us. That's it. Other communities are not watching the own network like that. When she decided to own something, to say, I want my own network, you talking about owning something. Nah, like we want you here sitting on this couch and running around, giving away stuff and nah, you don't get to own nothing though, baby. No. Own what? Own this. You have this show. Like we give you a salary and you do what we want you to do and that's not good enough for you. What Black TV show host is making more money than you? Who's more popular than you? White people watch you. White people love you. That's not enough. You want to own something now and have creative control and be able to pass something down to, whoever you want to pass it down to. If you ever have kids or if you adopt or, that school in Africa you were running and you want to pass stuff down. No, baby. No. It changed. The whole energy changed towards Oprah. Everybody loved Bill Cosby. You know, we love Fat Albert. We love the Cosby Show. We loved all that. You know what I'm saying? But then when he said he wanted to buy NBC or whatever show it was, whatever network it was, no, Bill, Bill, Bill. Let me talk to you for a second, please. Listen, you know we love you here. You know, everybody loves you here, and you know you've been a staple, and you know since the '70s, and we loved your stuff. Uptown Saturday Night, we loved that, and you know, I mean, we loved all of these things, and you know, and you do great work, and you know, we love the Cosby Show, and it kind of saved, you know, a lot of your shows, a lot of these black shows saved our networks, and yes, you know, for those who don't know, Living Single, um, the show Friends was taken from Living Single, but yes, you know, we love you, Bill, and you know, we love Jello, we love the pudding pops and all of that, but are you sure? Like are you sure you want to own something? Like where you have people, you mean you where you have people work for you, and you have creative control about what images you want to put out, and no, we'll have to get back, you know, we'll get back to you. We'll think about it, you know what I mean? And we'll get back to you. And then the energy changed for Bill. All of a sudden he's a rapist. You know, all of a sudden he sexually assaulted women, you know, back in the 60s with no evidence. All of that started primarily after he said he wanted to buy his own network. So I'm not going to lie to you, black men and black women. I'm not going to lie to you. Ownership comes with the cost. You know what I mean? You're going to have people that want to keep you in a certain box. They want to keep control of your art. They don't want you to own it. They don't want you to own your masters, rap artists, R&B artists. They don't want you to own your masters. They don't want you to have creative control. They don't. I've seen artists. I read a story one time. I can't think of who the artist was. I don't know if it was Stevie Wonder or some. I can't remember who it was, but this artist, and I'll find it. But the artist, he had his lawyer or his account. I think it was his lawyer. His lawyer wrote up a contract unbeknownst to him and had him sign it, where the lawyer and his family would get like 20% of this man's, you know, proceeds. He just wrote himself into legacy. You know what I'm saying? And because a lot of times we don't really listen, you know, we don't really read contracts and we don't really read the fine print, you know, it happens. Yeah, a lot of these artists get jerked because they don't read the contract. Unfortunately, TLC and Tony, a lot of this stuff was in their contract and they didn't read it. You know, New Edition, a lot of this stuff was in their contracts and they did not read it. New Edition thought they were signed to a label, and they weren't even signed to a label. They were signed as to a guy who worked for a label, who worked for the label. So they weren't even signed to the label directly. You know what I mean? It's crazy. Like, and it all came out in the BT series they did on New Edition. But yeah, man, it's crazy out here, man. Own your stuff. Own it. You know what I mean? It's a lot of times, you know, we're not focused on ownership because a lot of times when we create and innovate, a lot of it comes from our days in slavery, unfortunately. And we would create and innovate a lot of different things in order to make our slave masters happy so that they would leave us alone. You know, so you saw the cotton gin and you saw these, you know, almost every major invention in this country, even the light bulb, like Thomas Edison didn't invent no light bulb. That was all Lewis Latimer. Y'all can look that up. But a lot of the things that we did it not so that we can own something or that we can create something and pass it down. We did it so that we can make the dominant society feel better. And so our hope was that if they felt better, they would leave us alone. And we do that now. And it happened in slavery. And listen, slavery was a different beast. I mean, we all know, we read and studied about it, and we know what that was like. But the residue of that is still prevalent to this day. A lot of things that we do, we're not doing it to own it and control it and pass it down. We're doing it to be able to sell it, to get some, to get a little bit of money and some trinkets and a little bit of fame. You know what I mean? And so we have to get out of that. We have to get out of that mindset of just doing something for other people, of creating something hot and then selling it for other people. We make everything hot. We made Vans hot. We made Nike hot. We made Timberlands hot. Timberlands were out before rap. Nobody was buying them. We started, I remember, I used to, back in the day, a lot of cats used to wear the Clarks, used to wear the Wallabies. A lot of cats from like the islands would wear Wallies, like Jamaicans or whatever. And so, and you could get a pair of Wallies for like $30, $40, you know what I mean? Because nobody was wearing them. Then when Wu came out, when the Wu-Tang Clan came out and they start wearing Wallies and stuff like that, then you go in the store, you go to Clark's and you try to get you a pair of Wallies. Now the same shoes that was $40, that was $30 that they were trying to give away, now the same shoe $150. Timberlands nobody was really wearing them like that. And then when rappers start wearing them and start talking about them, the same, you can't get a pair of Timbs now. You can't get a pair of Fresh Butters now for under $150, $180. You can't do it. But we ain't getting no Timberland money. We don't own it. We don't control it. So we make it hot. We make it rich. We make it wealthy. We make it expensive. And then these people come out and say, I ain't really make this for y'all. You know what I'm saying? We made bling bling hot. Bling bling wasn't even a word. Now it's in the dictionary. We made it hot. But we don't own it. I don't know if Baby or Weezy, trademark bling bling. I don't know. But we made it hot. We made Moet hot and Cristal hot. I remember when I would come home from the army, we go to the club. We'd be in the club popping bottles. These Moet bottles like $200-$300. And we didn't care because we was young and dumb. But before that, you could go in the store and buy a bottle of Moet for like a third of that. But we made it hot. Coogee and all that, like we made it. Yeah, he should have trademarked bling bling, man. He made it hot. Somebody trademarked it. Somebody getting rich off of it. But we have to own our stuff, because when we own our stuff, we control it. We control the theme, the message behind it, and we can pass it down to our children, man. Let me get to this clip real quick. I want y'all to listen to. I think we're doing pretty good on time. I want y'all to listen to the legend, man. My homie, my legend, my mentor, man, Dr. Claude Anderson, man. Y'all have seen him before. He's been in a few of the Hidden Colors DVDs, but I've been following Dr. Claude Anderson for a long time, man. He wrote Black Labor, White Wealth. He wrote Powernomics. I have all those books. He runs the Harvest Institute here in Washington, D.C., where he's fighting, for us to get reparations. He's been fighting for us to get reparations since the 70s. He's been fighting for us to get some of this Native American reparations money, because a lot of those Indian treaties that were signed in the 1800s, they included African Americans or foundational Black Americans in these treaties, and we've been kind of pushed to the side and pushed away from that. And it is our right, it is our duty, it is what we are owed. So he's been fighting for that. But I just want y'all to hear Dr. Claude Anderson spit for a few. Y'all check this out.
Now, what's going to drive us into this underclass structure? First of all, are the legacies of slavery and Jim Crowism. We are still bearing the burdens and the scars. They were never corrected. That's one of the failings of our leadership in this country. They had the nerve, the audacity to let black folks suffer for 460 years. And at the end of the civil rights movement, rather than going back and saying, let's find out what has happened to black folk for 460 years. Have they been psychologically, emotionally, politically, educationally damaged? Nobody spent 1 minute of time trying to figure out what had happened to black folk over all that period of time. So in the course of the civil rights movement, at the end of it, they say, well, let's pretend that nothing has happened to them, that they were not injured, they were not hurt. And now let's go seek integration and pretend that we're all equal. Now that was grossly unfair, because by that point in time, in about the 1966 period, whites had become economic giants in America. They owned and controlled everything at that point in time. Black folk didn't own anything. Whites controlled almost 100% of all the wealth, the income, the privileges, the businesses, the resources, and all levels of government. Blacks had nothing. Blacks were one-foot midgets. And they allowed us then to use integration to walk from our communities, from our ghettos, over in their communities, totally disarmed, not understanding anything, blind, naked, and then saying that you can go and compete. Compete with what? And that's what the whole thing will be about this morning. You got to change the way you're seeing and thinking and behaving. Why? Because I said we've been locked into an underclass structure, because we got two major problems in America. One problem is that maldistribution of wealth and resources I told you about that's in South African America, where whites own and control everything. That's your number one problem. The second problem we're going to talk about this morning is the inappropriate behavior pattern of black folk. Those are the only two problems you have. I don't care what anybody else talks about in America. It's not worthwhile wasting your time. The problem in America is not drug abuse, crime, low-income housing, public housing, food stamps, welfare, teenage pregnancy. Those are symptoms of a problem. The symptoms are the fact that you don't own and control anything to run you and control your lives. That's the problem. And the second thing is inappropriate behavior pattern. A black person cannot be a racist. Racism is a power relationship between groups of people. That's all it is. It means where one group of people have control of so much wealth and power and resource that it can deprive, hurt, and injure and exploit another group to benefit itself. Never in the history of this earth have black folk ever controlled that much resources and where they can have gone out of their way to exploit, injure, and do something to whites. So therefore, racism only started in the 16th century, when you began to commercialize slavery against blacks. That's when racism started. There was no such thing as racism before that. The other thing, and before I get into my presentation, you got to understand racism also comes from the word race. Race means group. So whenever you hear people talking about now, you cannot prove racism because somebody fired you from a job, they are absolutely right. And the power structure and all the white think tanks in Washington know that. That's why you can no longer prove racism, because racism does not apply to an individual. It applies to a group. And because I discriminate against you, that's individual, that's personal. It's not group-based, and so you can no longer prove group-based discrimination. The second thing about the word race, remember also, which is very important for our discussion today, is the word race means being in competition. See, they didn't pick house, tree, car. They said racism. Race means being where people are competing from here to there. And we are in competition. That's what racism means. Black people must learn how to compete or survive, or not compete and perish.
That's the legend. That's Dr. Claude Anderson right there. He's right and exact. Yeah, baby. I know my wife said I've been saying that forever about racism. That's true. And I've been saying it because I got it from Dr. Claude Anderson. You know what I mean? Well, I got it from a lot of master teachers too, Dr. Francis Cress Welsing and Neely Fuller and Dr. Phil Valentine and Dr. Kaba, so many others. But what Dr. Claude is saying is real. We're in a race. We're in a war, and wars are fought on multiple fronts. And our goal has to be for us to acquire as much wealth and resources as we can in order to pass it down to our children and in order to build our communities. You know what I mean? I saw a meme today. I saw a post from Nicole Michelle. That's my sister over at the Inner Beauty Movement. And she said that there's no black code if you don't believe in the black family. You can't believe in a code of conduct for black people and not believe in the black family. You know what I mean? And that's real. And I'll take it a step further. You know, you can't believe in a code. Code is the foundation of that is in culture and legacy. You know what I mean? So we have to own our own culture. We have to control our culture. We have to do that in order so that we can have a legacy. You know, our situations are dire. Like Dr. Claude Anderson said, a lot of it, all of our problems, the majority of our problems are economic based. when you don't own anything and you don't control anything, and you have to go to people who don't look like you, who don't like you, who don't care anything about you, you put yourself in a position to be exploited. You put yourself in a position to be treated in a disrespectful fashion. Just imagine we all have people we don't like, right? We all have people that we really don't care for, right? We all have people we don't care for, okay? Just imagine you having to go to somebody that you don't care for, and that they don't really care for you either. They don't like you, but you have to go to them to eat. You have to go to them to get an apartment. You have to go to them to get a loan for a home. You have to go to them to get your child accepted into a college that they want to go to. When you live in somebody else's house, however they got that house, whether they built it with their own money or whether they stole the money and stole people and forced them to build that house for them, regardless of how it came about, when you come into somebody else's house, they're going to dictate to you how you live in their home, what you can do, what you can't do, when you can eat, where you can eat, when you can shower, when you can go to bed, when you can wake up. They're going to dictate all of these things to you. And your only option is, if you don't like it, create your own. Have your own house, have your own apartment, have your own car. You know what I'm saying? If you don't have a car and you got to depend on somebody to get from A to B, you can only go when they feel like taking you. And it may not be when you want to go, but it don't matter because it's not your car. You know what I'm saying? So you're going to go when I feel like taking you. You feel me? So we have to own. You know, there's so much power, man. You know, I remember when my wife and I, we closed on our homes, you know what I mean, on both of them. And I remember the feeling that I had of joy, you know, knowing that this was mine, that this was my family's, that one day I'm going to pass this down. We're going to pass this down to our children. And that when I'm dead and gone, you know what I mean, unless somebody comes and burns this house down or whatever, after I'm dead and gone, this house will remain. And it was one of the reasons why we had our second house built from the ground up, you know, just to be able to say that I built something. It didn't exist. Before I was born, before I was here, this was just a piece of land with nothing on it. You know, it was just dirt. And now we built a beautiful home, spacious home, lots of square footage, nice home that we can pass down to our children one day when it's time. It's a beautiful feeling to own it, to not have to answer to anybody. You know what I mean? To be able to, you know, to not have to worry about, you know, other people dictating to you. It's a beautiful thing. And that art, that feeling was taken away from us for a long period of time. And we got it back for a minute. You know what I mean? After slavery was over, after the Civil War, during the Reconstruction period, we started owning lots of businesses. We started, you know, owning land and doing for ourselves. And, you know, we started creating things for ourselves. Matter of fact, today, November 17th, I want to say November 17th, 1911 was the day that Omega Psi Phi fraternity was founded on the campus of Howard University. So shout out to them. Shout out to the Omegas, the Qs. But we did that for a long period of time. You know what I mean? We own businesses. We own communities. We had Rosewood in Florida. We had Black Wall Street. We had Seneca Village in New York, which was taken away from us and was turned into Central Park in New York. We had these things. We had land. We had businesses. We had wealth and resources, more than we've ever had to that point. And then and then came, you know, integration, excuse me. And a lot of that that we built, we had to build it because we were segregated. We couldn't go to white parts of town or whatever. We couldn't do certain things. So we created our own businesses for ourselves because we really didn't have a choice. And then we started making a lot of money. So a lot of outside groups started these think tanks and said, hey, we got to do something about this. They're owning land, they're owning businesses. We have to, unbeknownst to a lot of us, a lot of groups have think tanks where they're worried about us ascending in the right way because they understand that they're playing a monopoly game on our backs. They're moving around money and resources and wealth, and they're doing it on our backs. And they understand clearly that when we stand up, the game is over. The board and all the pieces fall on the floor, and the game is over once we ascend. And so there are a lot of people out here who, behind the scenes, who will connive and maneuver to keep us in a certain position so that they can keep playing the game on our back. And a lot of us don't know that. So that's why I hate a lot of these gender wars and things like that, because what we don't understand is that these gender wars, a lot of this stuff isn't even our own doing. They've done it and formed it and fashioned it in such a way where we think this is our fight, where we actually think that this is our opinion. But it's not. Somebody put this thought in our head. Somebody put this opinion in our head that all black women are like this, or that all black men are like this. And then you watch TV, you listen to music, and you hear and you watch TV, see all the black women act a certain way. They all welfare queens, or the ones who are successful and talented. They're feminists. They don't appreciate and respect the balance between the masculine and the feminine principle. So this is what we see. And then the ladies see it too. They see the men, either extra weak or extra hard. They either push over or they combing your head back. You know what I mean? That's what a lot of women see. So this isn't even our fight. But we can make it our fight when we own and control and operate what we're doing, because we can control the narrative. You know what I mean? It is very much an agenda, and it's done to keep us fighting each other while people, reap the benefits of us warring with one another. You know what I mean? And I hope, it's my hope and my prayer that at a certain point in time, we'll understand what's really going on and wise up to it. You know what I mean? And fight against it. All right. I got one more clip from Dr. Claude, and then I'm going to wrap it up, and we're going to be up out of here. Usually 2 hours is my limit. We at like 1:42, so we're doing good. I'm going to play one more clip, by the legend Dr. Claude, and then I'm going to have another point or whatever, and then we're going to get up out of here. Y'all peep.
But so one of the biggest things that are going to drive us in this underclass structure will be conservatism. The second thing is that you're going to have an unending influx of immigrants into the country. And that's what Dr. Price is talking about. And nobody, no black politician, no black organization wants to deal with that issue. They will avoid it at all costs, even though in their hearts they know that's one of the biggest problems for black folk. We anticipate in the next 10 to 12 years approximately 8 to 6 million Hispanics coming into the United States and 41 million Asians. You have been the majority minority for 400 years in this country. You have been the number 2 population for 400 years. You're going to get kicked out of being number 2. You're going to go down and become number 4. Now, common sense, even a third grade education would tell you, if you didn't get anything when you were number 2, you all jumped ahead of me, but anyway, you can guess what you're going to get when you become number 4. So what I'm saying now is that you're going to have this massive influx of immigrants into the country that are better equipped. They don't have your legacies. They don't have your disadvantages. They're walking across the border. They're going to get a free lunch. They don't have to pay dues. But you got public policies in this country that are equating them to black folk. They're equating them to black, and what we've allowed them to do starting in 1970 is to wrap themselves in black folks' suffering and pretend somehow they suffered along with black folk. And therefore, whatever program is created under this misguided label called minority, that they are equal to you and over you. So that's the problem with the influx of immigrants. And what they are doing is coming into the country and doing what we've never been allowed to do and we've never been bright enough to do in some senses, is to build your own communities. You got to build your communities. You see, every group that when they leave their homeland, the last thing they do is look in the mirror. They look in the mirror and says, I'm going to America. And I'm going to go to America. I'm going to find me a community or neighborhood. Or I'm going to build one with people who look like me. And so that's why you go all over this nation, where they're coming out of Asia. You will find Vietnamese towns all over California, little Cambodias. You'll find a Chinatown in every major city. You'll see the Hispanics come in. They'll build a little Mexico, a little Havana, a little Hialeah. You find little Italys, French towns, German towns, Greek towns, Polish towns, but you cannot find one black town. And we are the only people that keep trying to integrate. We're the only people, rather than looking in the mirror and saying, I see somebody that looks like me, I want to go find and build me a community of people who look like me. We're doing just the opposite. That's your second problem, is inappropriate behavior of black folk. We keep looking in the mirror and says, I want to get away from everybody that looks like me. You can't have any power and wealth doing that. If you don't have a community, you cannot rebuild Los Angeles without a black community. If I cannot come in this city, you can tell me where every black lives, where he stays, where he works. You don't have a community. And all of you that want to go in business, don't waste your time. You cannot start a business and operate without a town or a community. Why can't you do it? Because without a community, you have no market. If you don't have a market, every black will go by your store at 200 miles an hour heading for the suburbs and heading for the malls. And that's why you got this major displacement of capital out of the black neighborhood. And I tell black folk, if you want to go in business today, don't do it. Give me the money. I need it. Because you're going to go bankrupt. 80% of all black folk that go into business under the present system, you will go bankrupt within 2 years. You will lose your money within 2 years because you don't have a market. And see, that's how the other groups function. They have their own markets, their own communities.
It's another one, man, and another one. You know what I mean? I could listen to Dr. Claw all day, but we've talked about culture, we talked about legacy, we talked about owning your art. So when you finally decide to own your art, black ladies and gentlemen, there's some certain things that you need to do in order to maintain that art and to build it, to build your brand. You know what I mean? If you want to start a business, a company, whatever you're doing, where you want to own something, that's great. That's the first step. Is to have a mindset to own and operate and control something, to be able to pass it down to the next generation, to your children. But here's some things that you don't want to do when you start that business, when you start that company, that social media brand or whatever you're doing. These are some things that a lot of black folk do that get us hemmed up on the business side of the game. And these are some things that we have to stay away from. You know what I mean? And this is the reason why a lot of our businesses and a lot of our things that we create and innovate fail under our own leadership, which is unfortunate. But here's a few things why. And I'm going to say these and then we're going to get out. We're going to get up out of here. A lot of times we have too many alphas and we don't have any betas in our companies and our businesses. Everybody around us or everybody in our circle wants to be the guy. You know what I mean? Nobody wants to play a Scottie Pippen role. And nobody wants to be the sidekick. So when you start something and you bring some people along with you, a lot of times everybody wants that number one spot. They want to have their face on the billboard. You know what I mean? They want to have their own channel with their own videos. And there's a clear way for you to combat that and to rectify that. We all have to be versatile in this life. There are certain situations where I'm going to play Scottie Pippen, where I'm going to be the sidekick. There are certain situations where I'm going to play Robin. And then but I have to balance that by by playing a Michael Jordan position or a Batman position. You know what I mean? There are certain areas where you have to do both. Because if you play Pippen all the time, if you play Robin all the time, if you play the Pips all the time, and you never get a chance to be Gladys Knight, that's going to be a problem. So the way for you to fix that is this. And I see you, Miss Witt. You know what I mean? That's good. That's a good look. You know what I mean? I want you to start it. You know what I mean? Here's how you do that. Another Dr. Claude Anderson gem, a jewel that I got from him. He said, look, I think it was in his book, Powernomics. And he said that if you put 4 Black people on an island, you know what I mean, on an island, with the mindset that we have, we perish. Because everybody would want to do the same thing. Whatever they thought was popular, they would want to do that. So you could put them on an island, right? Where you're on the coast and there's an abundance of fish everywhere, whatever you like. You know what I mean? Salmon, trout, snapper, you know, whatever you like. You know what I mean? Whatever type of fish you like, halibut, whatever. All 4 of those brothers, if they have the same mindset that we have now, they're all going to want to do the same job. They're all going to want to fish. So you can have 4 brothers on a boat fishing all day. Okay. And they're not, and they're going to perish. But he said what other groups will do is they'll take 4 people, those same 4 people on an island, you know, where there's an abundance of fish. One man will get out there and fish. He's the fisherman. Then one person will run a grocery store. So when he fishes it, I'm sorry, it's late. When the fisherman is out there doing his thing, he's going to give it to the store, and the store will scale it, you know, and they'll sell it. Then you have another brother will start a restaurant, or he'll start a stand or whatever, where he cooks the fish, and he gets the fish from the store. It's already scaled and everything. He seasons it up, he cooks it or whatever, and then he sells it. And then you have the 4th brother who he sells utensils. So if you're going to fish, you're going to need a rod. If you got to scale the fish, you're going to need to, you know, buy utensils for that. So now all of these 4 men have created industries for themselves. They've created legacies for themselves that they can pass down to their own children, and everybody's eating, and everybody is needed, and everybody is valuable and important equally. The fisherman is great, but he's not great if he doesn't have a store to sell the fish to. The store is great, but the store doesn't have any value if he can't sell it to somebody who's willing to buy it and cook it. And none of those other 3, the fisherman, the store, and the cook, the restaurant owner, none of them are valuable if they don't have the utensils to be able to do their job. If they can't buy tackle, if they can't buy rods and equipment and nets, and they can't buy utensils to cook the fish and to scale the fish and to cut the fish up and all of these things. Everybody's eating equally off of one fish. And we have to start focusing on that. In our community, a lot of us want to be in the front. We want to be the lead singer. We want to be the act. We want to be the athlete. But a lot of other groups have come in and they've said, look, okay, I can't jump as high as them. I can't run as fast as them. But how can I make money? How can I make money off of this sport if I'm not 6'8" and I can't jump out the gym or dribble a basketball? You know what I'll do? I'll be an agent. You know what I'll do? I'll be a lawyer. All these cats going to need lawyers. I'll tell you what, you know what? I can't do that. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll go to school and get my degree in accounting. They all going to need accountants. I don't care. Yeah, I can't jump like them or run or do what they do. But you know what? They're going to need somebody to watch their money. They're going to need somebody to make sure that the tax man get paid. They're going to need somebody to broker deals for them. You know, most of these athletes have agents that go in and broker deals for these guys and get a 5 or 10% cut of the deal. So there are people who are eating off of your culture. They're eating off of your art. And so you have to have a mindset where sometimes you're not going to always be in the front. You're not going to always play Michael Jordan in a certain position. Sometimes you may have to be that background person. You may have to be that assistant or whatever. But put people in place who are okay with it, who are okay with that role. And once you get to a certain space and a certain place, they'll be able to find their own opportunities where they can be Michael Jordan and you guys can work together and assist each other. You know what I'm saying? But if you're starting your own company and you're bringing people in, you don't want too many alphas. There can only be one alpha in that room, and it has to be you because it's your brand. If it flops, it's on you. You know what I mean? If it flops, if View from the Man Cave flops, it's on me. That's my name. That's my picture. Regardless of who I bring on or who helps me do what. If it doesn't work out and do what it's supposed to do, it falls back on me at the end of the day. So that means I have to be the only alpha with this. I have to have the control and be able to have the freedom and luxury to do what I want. So make sure you don't have too many alphas around you. You know what I mean? When you're doing your business, when you're starting your business. Number two, make sure you research, man. Whatever you're doing, whatever business or company or whatever you're trying to do that has your name attached to it, that has your legacy and your culture attached to it, make sure you do research. Research is very important. When you go to college, stop going to college for these degrees that won't get you a job when you get out. See, our parents just told us when we were coming up, our parents just said, hey, go to college, get you a good education, get you a job. But when you do these things, you have to make sure that the market is supporting the amount of money that you're investing in college. So you go to a college, you go to Towson, you go to Georgetown, you go to Maryland, College Park, Eastern Shore, whatever, and you're spending 10, 15, 20, $30,000 a year for a degree. You want to make sure that you can turn that and flip that degree into a job that's going to give you enough money to pay those loans off, to be able to support the life that you want to live. You know what I'm saying? So do research the market. How does your business fit? How does your business fit? How does your business help your consumer base, your market base? Do some research, man. You know what I mean? If you can't be in Antarctica and sell ice. If you do some research, you'll learn that Antarctica, there's ice everywhere. How you gonna sell it when I can get it everywhere? You go to Antarctica, do some research. Yo, these people cold here. Sell some blankets. Sell some heaters. You know what I'm saying? Sell a lighter or something. Do some research on what you're trying to do to make sure that what you're trying to build and create, there's a market for it. There's a brand for it. There's a sustainable market for it. So make sure you do your research, man. Make sure that you don't start a business or company with insufficient funds, man. Get your money up. Listen, a lot of the great rappers that we love today that own, like Master P and Birdman and Jay-Z and Jay Prince, these guys came into the game with money. Ted, I see you. What's good? They came into the game with money. What happens when you come into the game with money? When you come into the game with money, you're coming from a position of power. And so what a lot of these guys don't understand, especially in New York, because see, in New York and LA, these guys had the luxury of being workers, of being label guys, because in New York, there are labels everywhere. You can walk down the street in Manhattan and see the headquarters for Columbia Records, Warner Brothers Records, Universal, whatever. You can see in places like New York and LA, there are labels on every block. Like they're literally, you go to New York and Manhattan, you can just walk down certain streets and see the headquarters of like 5 to 10 music record labels right there. So you can just go in there and drop off your demo, your mixtape or whatever, and nobody's really going to hear it. You know what I'm saying? Because that's not coming from a position of power. When you have a market, when you have a brand, especially when you want to expand on what you've already built, you want to come into it from a position of power. So being in the South, where I'm from, a lot of these artists didn't have labels. There were no record labels in Louisiana. There were no record labels in New Orleans or Houston outside of, so these guys had to create labels. They had to, Jay Prince had to create Rap A Lot because there were no big time labels in Houston. Baby had to create Cash Money Records. Master P had to create No Limit Records because no big record labels were there. So what did they do? They created their own label and they started selling their music. And so guys like Master P were selling 5, 10, 15, 20,000 seat tapes out of the trunk of his car. So then he got so much of a buzz that when people would come to New Orleans or when people would come to Texas or whatever, you couldn't stop hearing this music. You couldn't stop hearing Screw. You couldn't stop hearing Zero. You couldn't stop hearing Fat Pat. You couldn't go 10 minutes and hear somebody, riding around on swishers playing Lil Kiki. You understand what I'm saying? So they grew a market. So people who were trying to make money came in and said, wow, like I keep hearing about these cats. Every time I come to New Orleans, I keep hearing about I keep hearing about BG or Turk or Juvie. You know what I mean? Every time I keep coming to Houston, I keep hearing about Mike Watts. You know what I'm saying? I keep hearing about the Screwed Up Click. Every time I go to New York, I keep hearing about, or in the South. Every time I go to Atlanta, I keep hearing about these artists. And so they created a buzz. And so they created wealth for them. Like they created an economic base for themselves. That's why when these major labels or these major distribution companies came to Master P and said, we want to go into business with you. He said, look, first of all, I'm not working for you. You can distribute my stuff. You know what I'm saying? You can pay me to move my CDs, to move my tapes. And if you don't want to pay me on my terms, because they offered him, I think they offered him $1 million initially. He's told this story a lot of times. They offered him $1 million initially. And he said, I held out for like 10 because I knew if they were willing to give me 1, I knew I was worth 10. So I held out for it. And if they didn't want to give it to me, I didn't care because I was moving 10, 15, 20,000 tapes out of the trunk of my car every week. You know what I'm saying? So I had the money. I had money. I wasn't coming to them starving. I wasn't walking into these boardrooms broke and hungry and begging for a deal because they weren't going to, I wasn't going to allow that hunger to get me to sign something that I didn't want to sign. Natalie, I see you. I see you, Nat. What's good? And so come into it with some money. Get your money up. Get your paper up. Do something on the lower level first and build a brand. Build you an economic base. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to come out, off the top just saying, hey, I'm going to start a storefront. You know what I mean? I'm going to buy a storefront on Rodeo Drive. You know what I mean? You don't have the money for that. I want to go to Manhattan and start something, buy me a storefront on Times Square. No, you don't have the money for that. Oh, I want to do this. I got my own restaurant. I want to go in DC in Georgetown and open up a storefront. You don't have the money for that. Start small. Start out of your crib. Get you a food truck or something. Start small. And then when you create that buzz, you create a market for yourself in order for people to invest in you so that you can go big. So make sure that your funds are sufficient. Another thing, if you're in business for yourself, you want to make sure that you adapt. People who fail to adapt, their businesses die. You have to adapt, whether that's with technology, whether that's with marketing, whether that's with promotion, whatever you're doing, be willing to adapt. I see you, Ted. I do like Black Moon, man. Shout out to Buckshot. You know what I'm saying? I love music. You know what I mean? Black Moon, Brooklyn, you know what I'm saying? Brownsville, Boot Camp Click, you know what I'm saying? Helter Skelter, shout out to, Sean Price, RIP to Sean. You know what I mean? Original Gun Clap was OGC, all that, man. I love music. You know what I'm saying? I love music. But yeah, make sure you can adapt. Make sure you can adapt to the times, man. One of the reasons why Jay-Z stays relevant is because he adapts. So Jay-Z's in Brooklyn, he's in New York doing his thing. Then Juvenile blows up. So then Jay-Z says, okay, I'm gonna do a song with Juvenile. So if you listen to Juvenile's first record, 400 Degrees, Jay-Z was the only guest artist outside of Cash Money on Juvenile's first album. So he adapted. Where a lot of New York rappers were like, yo, like these cats can't rap. These cats in Louisiana and Mississippi and you know, Memphis can't rap. Like they don't have bars like that. I'm not doing no money with them. You know what I'm saying? I'm not doing no business with them. You know what I mean? But Jay-Z's like, yo, he's hot. So I don't care if he don't sound like me. He's hot. Everybody listening to Ha. Everybody listening to back that thing up. I'm gonna get on this record. You know what I'm saying? So be able to adapt. Be able to adapt. Absolutely. You gotta get you gotta build some capital and start small. You have to put yourself in a position where people want to invest in you, where you know where you can create, you know, some equity for yourself, so that you can go to a bank and get a loan. 40%, less than 40% of Black businesses qualify for loans. I don't know if a lot of people know that, but under 40% of Black businesses that go to a bank and try to get a loan, you know, a lot of that is racism, but some of it is because we don't have a strong business model. You know, we just went to church and you know, and it was we just went to church and we heard the pastor say that, you know, this is our year to break through and you can start that business, and we just say, hey, we're gonna start something, but we don't do the research and we don't build our money up. You know what I mean? We don't do that. So that's very important. But you want to be able to adapt to the times. I mean, because times change, and you know what I mean, and you want to make sure that your business, your entity, your essence is able to adapt. You know what I mean? We all seen it. What was hot 5 years ago, you wouldn't be caught dead with it right now. So things change. So be willing to adapt. Not necessarily your principles. I'm not saying adapt or change or morph or mutate from who you are, the essence of who you are, but be able to adapt in the marketing, in the promotion, in avenues that you take to be able to, you know, bring in different people or different streams of support and income and things like that. Be willing to adapt. You know what I mean? Another thing is, if you don't have experience in what you're doing, which a lot of us don't, get some trusted people around you that know what they're doing. You know what I mean? Don't bring your cousin and them on. You know what I'm saying? If you don't know what you're doing, if you don't have any experience running a business, if you don't have any experience marketing and promoting your brands and things like that, get some people around you that know what they're doing. You know what I mean? There are a lot of different ways to do that. You don't have to do it. Like, you don't have to. One thing that I would do if I was starting out, right? I had a great idea and I wanted to promote something. I would go and work with people that are low key. I would go to, you know, I don't know. I would go to like a college or something. I'm just throwing something out there for y'all. I would go to a college or university, because when you come out of college, what's the one thing that you have that you need but you can't get on your own? Is experience. A lot of people come out of college and they don't get the job because they don't have any experience. Well, how can I get experience if I don't have a job? One of the ways that you can do that is to get some of these college kids, man. Get some of these college geeks. These kids that's on the computer all day, that know how to, you know, do things on the computer and create web pages, and, you know, people who are going to school for that, or people who are going to school for marketing and stuff like that. Get them early. You know what I'm saying? Because when they graduate, they're going to want that bread. They're going to want some serious bread. So bring people on that's kind of young, hungry, that just really want some experience, and get your experience up. If you don't have any experience, you need to get some. You know what I'm saying? You can go, like I tell people all the time, you know, college is a tool, and if you use it the right way, it's a very good thing. If you go into business for yourself, you have to understand business. You have to understand bookkeeping and customer service and all of these things. So if you don't have experience with, a lot of us, a lot of Black folk, we bank off of raw talent. Nat just said it in the chat. We use raw talent too much. And see, raw talent can be neutralized. You know what I mean? I've seen guys who could jump out the gym, who can dribble, who can cross you up, but they don't understand how to play the game. They don't understand how to play basketball. They don't understand that sometimes the best pass is a bounce pass. That old school 1940s, 1950s Bill Russell bounce pass. Sometimes that's the best play. You don't have to go around the back and try to make Sports Center every time you touch the ball. A lot of times we go off of raw talent, but you have to hone that talent. It's very important. We have all the raw talent in the world. We can dance, we can sing, we can act, we can do all this stuff, but we have to master the business side as well. And if you don't have that experience, look out there. I mean, there are a lot of elders out here who are just sitting around waiting for y'all to come to them and get some game. A lot of people that own businesses that retired and that own businesses for 20, 30 years that could give you lots of game. They're just sitting around watching Maverick. You know what I'm saying? Because y'all won't talk to them. Get you some experience and you don't have to be conventional. You can be very unconventional in how you get that experience. But make sure you get some experience. Make sure you understand what you're doing. That's very important too. Black folks. If you are starting a brand, if you are starting a business, if you are starting a company, culture and legacy are very important. I understand why you're doing it. You're trying to build something. You're trying to create something that you own and control. You want to pass it down. That is great. When you do that, please make sure y'all jokers have good customer service. I don't care how good that shrimp is. I don't care how good your clothes fit. I don't care how nice you can make her weave look. I don't care how nice her lashes look. I don't care how nice, whatever this drink taste. I don't care. Make sure your customer service is on point for a plethora of reasons. One, you don't know who's looking at your stuff. You don't know who's walking in your business. You don't know the people who patronize you. You don't know who they know. You don't know who they're clicked in with. You understand what I'm saying? Sasha has a group on YouTube where she's helping sisters lose weight. Eating a plant-based diet. And she has lots of women in that group. And I'm sure they communicate and they support one another. But Sasha has no idea who's in that group and who they know. There could be a woman in that group that's saying, you know what? I've heard about Sasha. She's doing great things. She's changing lives. She's attractive. She's doing her thing. I want to invest in her. And they're just in that group just to see how she treats her clients. They're just in that group, commenting here and there, supporting one another. But their main focus is, I want to see how she treats these people. I want to see how she handles it when, she gets someone in the group to say, hey, I did what you told me to do, and I didn't get the gains that I thought I was going to get. How does she respond to that? You don't know who sees your stuff. I don't know who listens to this channel. I have over 1,500 subscribers, and that's because of y'all, but I don't know who listens to this. I look at some of my videos, they have thousands of views. I don't know all those people. I don't know 1,000 people. I don't know who's listening to this. I don't know who's going to pass it on to somebody and say, hey, like, there's this young brother right here named Frank at ViewFromManCave. He drops gems. I listen to him all the time. You listen to him and tell me what you think. And that person could be the friend of a friend of a friend of a friend who owns something, who says, yo, this guy's dope. I want to invest in him. You know what I mean? I want to have him on my show. And my show has 1 million subscribers. And I do this and I do that. And I hear about all the things he does in the community and how he's a father and he's a husband and he's doing certain things. I want to invest in him. I have no idea who's listening. You have no idea who's coming into your business, who's walking into your storefront, who's in your private social media group. You have no idea. Some of y'all in here, do hair or whatever. Y'all have no idea. Y'all get these new clients. Y'all have no idea who they are. You have no idea who they know. I just found out, me and my wife, we were our goddaughter, one of our goddaughters, her birthday just passed a few months ago, and and we went over there for the little drive by or whatever, and come to find out that my goddaughter's mom and Taraji P. Henson are friends. You know what I'm saying? That she know Taraji, like when Taraji comes back home to the DMV, because she's from DC, when she comes back here, her and Taraji go to the same beautician. You know what I'm saying? So you never know who knows who. You never know people who are around you, who they know, who their cousins are, who they went to college with, who they, you never know. So make sure your customer service is on point all the time. Smile, man. Be nice. You know what I mean? Be respectful of people. Facts. You never know. Sasha, you never know who follows you on Facebook, especially on social media, because everybody's running around. A lot of people are running around here creating fake accounts and troll accounts and stuff like that. You don't know who these people are. So if it's related to your business and your brand, make sure you put your best foot forward. Make sure your customer service is right, man. That's going to build you. Sometimes, that can seal a business deal for you. Like, let's say, me and another person sell the same thing. Like we both sell cheeseburgers or whatever. My cheeseburger's good. His cheeseburger's good. They're both good. They're both delicious. I could get more business than this guy because my customer service is better. Look at Chick-fil-A. Look, Chick-fil-A, all right, but they chicken ain't all that. Like, I mean, look, I'm from the South. I like Bojangles. You know what I'm saying? You can't tell me nothing. But Church's Chicken, what is their staple? Their staple is customer service. I don't care. That line is always a mile long, but you get in and out of there in about 10 minutes. They come up to you. They God bless you. They put oil on your forehead and they take your order and they pray for you. You know what I'm saying? That's what Chick-fil-A do. And they keep business. They moving so many chickens. They don't even work on Sunday. Only fast food place you ever seen in your life take a day off. You know what I'm saying? They're getting so much work. And a lot of that is related to their customer service. So make sure your customer service is on point. You know what I mean? Lastly, and then I'm gonna let y'all go, man. Y'all been hanging with me. I love y'all for that. Lastly, make sure that you market. Make sure that you market yourself. You know what I mean? Market. You can have the best product on the market. You can have the best voice in your city. You can have the best flow. You can have the best bars in your city. No one is going to know if you don't market. I have people around me. I have family members who do music. They have, they put music out. They do videos on their YouTube channel, and their YouTube channel got 10 subscribers, and they've been putting out music for 10 years. That makes no sense. Market. Okay, if you have a business, if you have a company, even if you're an artist, if you're a rapper, if you're a singer, if you sell fish sandwiches, whatever you're doing, market your stuff. Social media is free. YouTube, you can have a channel for it. You got Facebook, you got Twitter, you got Instagram. You can market your stuff on these outlets. Create a page just for your music. Create a page just for your cookies or your fish sandwiches or whatever you're moving. Create a Facebook page just for your debt consolidation business or whatever you're doing, your credit repair, whatever you're doing. Market it. Market your stuff. I should hear about your stuff before I see your face. That's when you know you're moving. That's when you know you're ringing bells. Places like for example, here in the DMV, you have some artists that are mainstream. You got Wale, you got Raheem Devon, you got a few others. You got Shy Glizzy, whatever. You got all these artists in DC that are doing their thing. a lot of them got deals because they had a buzz in the city. Raheem Devon, we all know, we know Customer, we know all of that. He was on, he's on Jive or whatever. We know Raheem. Raheem used to be on U Street all the time singing, open mic nights, whatever. You know what I'm saying? So when people would come to Howard Homecoming, which is a very big thing, like a very big thing in DC, when Howard Homecoming's popping off, U Street's popping, the clubs, the lounges, everything is moving. Everybody's coming here for that. You have mainstream artists who come to perform. You have Diddy, who went to Howard. He always comes back. He throw a little money at Howard. They show him love. So when all of these big people will come to DC, they be like, yo, have you heard this kid Raheem? Yeah, this little youngin' Raheem Devon. Like he's singing, yo, he gonna be over here. He gonna be at this lounge. He gonna be over here tonight. You gotta go over there and check him out. So the big wigs is like, yo, I'm gonna send my A&R, I'm gonna send my little worker over there. You go to this lounge, you check out this cat named Raheem. I heard he's supposed to be performing over here. So you want to create a buzz, you want to market. You know what I'm saying? If you're a musician, promote your stuff. Promote it. Let people know, hey, I'm performing over here. I'm performing over there. You know what I'm saying? I'm doing this. I'm doing it. Let people know. I got family members that perform. I ain't heard nothing. I ain't seen one flyer. You know what I'm saying? I'm over here. I ain't seen nothing. Nothing. Make sure you promote your stuff. You know what I mean? Make sure, your flyers, your logos are right. There's some good sites for that. You got Canva, Canva. Is a site that I use for all of my my thumbnails and stuff like that. It's free. They do have a paid option, which opens you up to more, templates and stuff like that. But market your stuff. Make sure it's colorful. Make sure it pops. Make sure it stands out. Market it on your Facebook, your YouTube, your Instagram, whatever you're doing. You know what I mean? Like, I'm still in Facebook jail, but when I wasn't in Facebook jail, I would promote all my shows there. I had like over 4,000 friends. You know what I'm saying, on Facebook. So I would promote it. I would put it out. I would put a post up and say, yo, I'm going live. I'm doing this or I'm doing that. So people know what you're doing, and they'll catch it when they catch it. Sometimes they may not catch the live, you know what I mean, but they'll listen to the playback. And they would have never. There are actually people that, that do certain things that you have no idea. You know what I mean? I still have people that, even though I would post my stuff all the time, people would say, yo, I didn't even know you had a YouTube channel. Well, I ain't really on social media like that, but I was on there today and I saw you got a channel. I'm going to go check it out. You never know. But make sure you market your stuff. You know what I'm saying? Make sure you get some good wisdom, some good information up under you. It's okay to seek out veterans in your field, people who have done what you're trying to do, and get their advice. You still going to do it your way, how you want to do it, but get advice. Get sound advice from people. You know what I mean? That'll help you too. That'll help you stay clear and steer clear away from some negative stuff, some negative energy and all that. If you keep good people around you. But that's all I got for y'all, man. You know what I mean? I appreciate y'all, pulling up. You know what I'm saying? I don't know when my parole hearing is, man. Like, they want free the homie, man. You know what I'm saying? I was at county. I was supposed to be at county jail, man. I was supposed to be at county for 3 days, right? And it was my fault. I ain't even going front. So it was my birthday weekend, right? And it was my birthday weekend. Yes, lovely. Like, I will. I will do Man Cave mails. I will do them. If you want me to talk about a topic on Man Cave mail, just email me. Let me put it right here. Boom. This is my email. So if you have a comment, concern, if you want me to hit up, you want me to do a Man Cave mail for you or whatever, I will do that for you. You know what I mean? If you email me, I got a few hits. I got a few people who've emailed me, so I'm just going to put it in the schedule, in the rotation. You know what I mean? So I got some stuff coming up, but I promise y'all, man, I haven't got that big yet. I haven't got that big and bougie yet where I don't read emails and I don't respond. and I don't use that to formulate and to put it into content, and I do that for a few reasons. One, because I just want to be in tune and in touch with my supporters. Two, because a lot of times when people hit me with an email and ask me a question, I know that it's something that a lot of people are going through. So I'm going to address it on the show. Obviously, I'm not going to say your real name or, whatever your email is. I'm not going to put any personal identifiable information out there. I'm not going, if you talk about names and talk about people and places, I'm not going to read any of that. I'm just going to read the meat of your email, and then I'm going to address it in a live, because a lot of times people, are going through the same thing. Lots of people. So I like to address my man cave mail. So I'll definitely will do that. But Nat, yeah, man, they put me in county. So here's what happened, right? Here's what happened. So it was my birthday weekend, right? Me and my wife, we rented this big crib in Delaware, this big monster mansion out there in Delaware, had an elevator in the crib. It was dope. We go out there for like 4 or 5 days, celebrate my birthday. I just turned 39, October 29th. So we go out there, and it was a fight weekend. So I even did a fight preview for it. It was my first fight preview. It was the Tank fight. Javante Tank Davis fought Leo Santa Cruz. I did a preview and prediction video on it. So that fight was that weekend. So me being a dummy, right? I'm like, yo, I got the pay-per-view. I'm gonna show it live on YouTube. I mean, on Facebook. I'm gonna show the fight live. And so I showed it live. I went live and I showed the fight. It was a pay-per-view fight. And I wasn't, like, my account is public, and I didn't like close out the comments or nothing like that. So I'm showing some of the fight live on, and it's on pay-per-view, and it's like 2,000 people watching it. And then they shut it down, and they said, okay, it's a copyright issue because you showing a pay-per-view fight live, and people supposed to pay for that. Like, you pay for that. But I was feeling good. I had a few, I had a few drinks. I'm like, I'm gonna watch. I'm gonna show some love to the people. So I put a little bit of the fight. I went live with it on YouTube, and so they shut it down, and they said, okay, because you showed something that was copywritten, you violated our copyright rules. We're gonna temporarily ban you from posting or commenting on YouTube for 3 days. They sent me an email, said, for 3 days, you cannot post, you cannot comment on your Facebook page for 3 days. That was Halloween. So that Saturday night, Halloween, October 31st. Okay, 3 days. It is now November 17th, and not only can I not comment or post on my page, I can't even sign in. Every time I try to sign in, it says you've been banned for 3 days. You have a temporary ban for 3 days. So I can't even sign in. I don't know what to do. You know what I'm saying? I tried to send it, like, I tried to click on the help button, you know what I'm saying, to find out what's going on. Only way you can access the help portion of Facebook is if you sign in. You still got to sign in first. So I can't get in. I even Googled a 1-800 number for them cats. I tried to call a number like, yo, let me in, like Boosie with Instagram. And, I don't know. So I'm like, look, at this point, you know what I mean? Yeah, man, they super pressed, man. It's been another fight and all that. I mean, well, that fight was free, this past one with Bud Crawford. Shout out to Bud. I did a preview video for him too. Y'all can check that out too. But yeah, man. So they got me in the pen for that. It was a 3-day ban. That was on October 31st. It's 17 days. Tomorrow will be 18 days since it happened. I still can't get in. And they said a ban from posting and a ban from commenting. So a lot of times when you get banned, because I've never really been banned like that. This is my first time. Or block or temporary ban. So, but I've seen it. I've heard where you get banned, you can still log into your account. You can still check your messenger and you can see people's posts. You just can't comment on a post, and you can't create your own post. You can't do anything. You can just look. You want to read only level. But I can't even sign into my account. Like, I put in my username and password. I can't even get in. I can't see nothing. Like I need like a Facebook lawyer. I need a Facebook Johnny or something. Come fix this for me, man. This is a joke. You know what I'm saying? Facebook trying to hold me down. I'm not going to allow it. You know what I'm saying? It's free to hold me till y'all see the homie though. You know what I'm saying? So, but I'll be back. I tell you this: if I don't come, if they don't give me my stuff, you know what I'm saying? If they don't give me my page back, I'll just create another one. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna hold the people back. People hit me up on Instagram, Frank. You know what I mean? What happened? I missed your post. You know what I mean? Your post was dope. Your content was dope on Facebook. Come back. But I'm trying. You know what I'm saying? Yo, it ain't me. You know what I mean? They got Gabe too. Gabe got a 30-day bid though. You know what I'm saying? Like me and Gabe talk every day. That's my homie. Me and Gabe talk every day. We text and all that. And they got him too, 30 days. You know what I'm saying? So if he come back in 30 days and my joint still acting up, I'm just gonna create another page. You know what I mean? Like I'm gonna give the people what they want, straight up. But I need a Johnny Cochran out here, man. I need something. You know what I'm saying? I need that a time to kill lawyer or something. Y'all close your eyes and imagine I'm white. You know what I'm saying? Close your eyes and imagine I'm white, and then let me back in Facebook, man. Stop playing with me. You know what I mean? But yeah, man. Thank y'all, man. You know, it's very. I'm very happy. You know, for all the success of this channel, man. The channel's grown leaps and bounds. I'm at over 1,500 subs in less than a year. That's incredible. The channel's still growing like crazy, and I'm only doing one live show a week. You know what I'm saying? And and the channel's still growing, man. So I salute y'all, man. You know, I appreciate all of y'all, you know, for liking it, commenting, sharing, all that good stuff, man. This is because of y'all. You know what I mean? I'm not too big or too bougie to be like, yo, you know what I mean? I did this and, you know, y'all need to get like me or whatever. Nah, man. Like, you know, this is people who support, you know what I mean, who listen in, who comment, who share, you know what I mean, who support financially. You know what I mean? I am monetized now, so the super chat button does work. You know what I mean? And you know, so people who super chatted me, people who sent me money via Cash App, PayPal, whatever, this is because of y'all. You know what I mean? So I appreciate it. But on that note, you know, y'all be safe out here, man. This pandemic is picking up. You know what I mean? People out here, you know, it's spiking like it was in March or April. Y'all be careful. I know. Thank you. Thank you, Miss Dixon. I see you. Thank you for that. And so y'all be careful out here, man. Y'all make sure y'all wash y'all hands. Keep y'all mask on. You know what I'm saying? Stay 6 feet away from people. And you know, and be safe out here, man. This thing is taking a turn for the worse. You know what I mean? You know, we're seeing numbers as high as we saw in March and April. So, you know, y'all be safe, man. You know, y'all have a good week. Y'all have a good weekend. I'm not sure exactly what show I'm going to do next Tuesday. I know I might bring Wifey on to kind of talk about family and finances. You know, my wife Rasha is an accountant and she does a great job, you know, with budgeting and helping couples and helping people, you know, balance their budget and helping them, you know, be able to stack some money up in savings and things like that. So she's great with that. So I might have Wifey on next week to kind of talk about family and finances. You know what I mean? Because finances is a killer, man. You know what I mean? The majority of marriages, you know, that end in divorce, they end in divorce over money, not having enough money or having a lot of money and not agreeing on how to spend it. You know what I mean? I may do another men's table too. I got some stuff. You know, I just got to get the right topic and, you know, and bring the fellas back, man. But they're huge supporters of the channel. They always hit me up and say, Frank, man, whenever you need me, I got you. So I may do that. You know what I mean? I may do something heavy, like, you know, like why men cheat, you know what I'm saying? Or you know, something crazy, man. But, you know, I'll figure it out. But, you know, whatever I do, it's going to be fly. It's going to be official. And it's going to be something constructive that, you know, y'all can listen to, y'all can vibe with, and that, you know, and that we can grow and build together. You know what I mean? So I'm not sure exactly what show is going to be next. I do have a few shows lined up, though. I could tell y'all some of the topics. I'm going to do a show on family and finances. I'm going to do a show, and this one might actually be with the men. I'm going to do a show about men and how we should define masculinity and what respect and cooperation and femininity means to us. You know what I mean? So I'm going to do a show on that where, where I have the men come and talk about what femininity means to us and what respect means, and, how we need, the women in our life to show respect and stuff, like compliment what we're doing, all of that. So I got that one coming. Yes, Sasha, I'm going to do another astrology video. I know I did a video about soul ties, but in that video got really heavy. We started talking about soulmates and twin flames and, karmic relationships and things like that. That joint got real heavy in the chat. So I may come back to that. I probably will come back to that. I may have some guests come on. I know Jacqueline was in there going hard, and I think Sasha was in there going hard too. So I may have y'all come on if y'all don't mind, and we can kind of break that down. Or I could do it solo. However we do it. But I got some 5 topics on deck. You know what I mean? It's just about when to schedule them and all that kind of stuff, and making sure I can get everybody on the same page, with guests and things like that. All right, man, but I'm gonna let y'all go. I didn't hear y'all long enough. I done went over my time a little bit, but I love y'all, man. Y'all be safe. Y'all keep supporting the channel. Like I said, my email is here. If you want to email me for the Man Cave mail, you can do that. Also, if you want to support the channel financially, you can do so. I am monetized now, so you can super chat, or you can support financially via PayPal or Cash App. I'm on Cash App at $ View from the Man Cave, and I'm on PayPal as well. PayPal.me/View from the Man Cave. All right, man. So we're gonna do it, man. So y'all be safe. I'll see y'all next time. Let's see what I got right here. All right. Tuesday night, 8:30 p.m. I'll see y'all next time. Have a good one.
you.